gamers? You're listening to the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 100.
This is the Short Pause inaugural podcast. Hopefully there are more. I am Eric, and I'm here with Brent and Ben.
With me always, Mr. Benjamin Boyce. You are my Short Pause guardian brother. We go into battle together, we ride together, we die together.
Dude, we've already exposed that lie, so that's a fact. we won't dwell on that.
We are introducing, for the first time ever on the Short Pause podcast, Mr. Ben Holt. You know him as Bender. Bender, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, guys. I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Joining us tonight for his first time ever on the Short Pause podcast, Frankie Ayler. Frankie, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Mr. Felsing?
Welcome back to another edition of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. Not just any other edition. This is the 100th episode of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. Gentlemen, we are at 100. Not 99, not 98, 100. We made 100 episodes of this garbage, and people keep listening. I absolutely love it. It's going to be a good night. Well, you know, it's a good night because it's the 100th episode. Our three biggest stories are probably not that great. In fact, it might be a pretty negative, heavy show. But we'll try to keep it upbeat as possible, as positive as possible. But joining me always, Frankie Ayler, Ben Boyce, Bender Holt. Guys, as you can see, we're actually streaming this now. This is a video version of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast.
Ooh.
Ah, look at that. I mean, we're normally audio, and we still are audio. You can see up in the corner on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and Google Play. But to put this on YouTube, we didn't want to just put the audio version because our shows are pretty long. So we wanted to get a video version. And down in the comments or down in the description section, you can actually see timestamps of the discussions that we're having throughout this episode. So if you start watching, today, and then tomorrow you're like, man, I was like 3 hours in, but I can't remember the topic. You can go down in the description below, and you'll be able to select the timestamp and continue where you started. So if you're listening on iTunes, you are listening on. It's so weird when you're recording video and audio. But iTunes, obviously, you have the chapters. Android folks, I don't know how to put chapters in your podcast app, so I apologize. But gentlemen, episode 100, we're here now. Frankie Ayler, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing really good.
Yeah?
Really good. How are you?
Dude, I'm jacked. This is 100 episodes, dude.
It is.
It's so good. What are you pumped about? Are you still playing Yakuza? Are you going to talk about Yakuza tonight?
I am.
Yes.
I can talk about some Yakuza tonight. Yeah.
All right.
Those of you following the site probably already know that I have first impressions piece as well as some gameplay up running around the city, one of the cities. So Yakuza 0, of course, is a prequel to the Yakuza series, which is perfect for me because after playing 5, I wanted to go back to the beginning. So now I'm before the beginning, so that works for me. So you play as two different characters. There's Kiryu, who I think is a series main character. I'm not totally sure because I don't know a whole lot about the franchise, unfortunately, yet. So there's him. And then the other guy's name is Majima, which I keep wanting to call him Kojima, so I always forget his last name. But both of them have basically like some kind of rough history with their respective families. So they both kind of get banished or get kicked out in some way, shape, or form. So they're both kind of Kiryu's story is more about him trying to sort of right a wrong, I suppose, or at least try to keep somebody else safe that he feels really close to, whereas Majima's story, he was kind of banished for being that rebellious young kid who thinks he knows everything, got in way over his head, so they kind of tortured him. He has an eye patch, some stuff happens to him, obviously, so his punishment, if you will, is he has to basically run the Grand, which is this probably the most popular nightclub in Satonbori, which is the city that he is in. So his punishment's running this casino and being a big shot, but really to him, like, he feels like, he's in a giant cage. He can't leave the city. He's got people watching him all the time. So yeah, I mean, the game is really just about those two. Like, they're kind of on a collision course at some point where I'm assuming their stories are going to start intertwining. So there's a lot of stuff going on, though. It's a very, very story-heavy game. A lot of subtitles, of course, is in Japanese. So you're going to be reading a lot. The story itself is very involved, very long. A lot of stuff going on all the time. But it's really cool because, while you have a lot of these, like, conversations going on with these different people, there's, you get past that. There's just a lot of ridiculous set pieces. And, dude, it's a nonstop action ride. So I'm about 30 hours in right now. I think I'm about 3 or 4 chapters away from the end.
Okay.
A lot of cool stuff's happened since, what I wrote up. So
Okay.
looking forward to having a review up on the site probably sometime later this week.
Okay.
So look forward to that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Boyce, how you doing tonight, buddy? Dude, 100 episodes. You and I have been here from the start, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I know when we first started doing this a few years ago, I don't think we envisioned doing 100 of these, but here we are, man. Yeah, I remember when we first started, it was kind of we'll do this whenever we get a chance, and so we'd record a show like every few weeks, get one up on the site. Then once Eric had to leave, it was just me and you for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So and we were just kind of when we first picked up the mantle, we were just kind of like, all right, we'll do a show here. And I think it was like 4 weeks between one episode or something. So we were very inconsistent at that point. But we did a couple shows and we're like, all right, man, we're on to something here. I think if we start to do this weekly, like we can make an audience and people will enjoy this. So we committed to doing the show weekly after that. We started cranking out weekly episodes. Obviously Frankie and Bender joined us not too long after that, and we've been weekly ever since, and it's been awesome, man. Pretty cool to be here at the century mark recording a show. It's pretty awesome. It's a testament to not only you guys on the other end of the microphone here, but to everybody that listens to this show on a weekly basis and kind of inspires us and keeps us going, and it's pretty cool, man. It's really neat to be at 100 episodes here.
Yeah, it really is. And you mentioned Eric, our good friend Eric Jordan, when we started the site, he was the one that had the most podcast experience out of both of us. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of like guided the ship for us. He kind of gave us an idea of what it takes to run a podcast, to kind of guide the ship through a show. And Eric was an integral part of this website when we first started, and this show is better because of him at the start. And we really appreciate the efforts that Eric put into this podcast. And I think our learning from him helped you and I kind of mold this show into our own. And it's been a hell of a ride since then. But a special shout out to Eric Jordan, and we really appreciate everything you did from the start of this website. This site is a better place because of you. And maybe one of these days we can get Eric back on the show, man. It's like a special guest.
It'd be fun, man. I'd love to get him back on here one day. And miss you, buddy.
Yeah, miss you, Eric. And let's jump down to the man at the far right, Mr. Bender Holt. Bender, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, not too much. Pretty exciting times being here for episode 100. First official video edit episode. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is indeed. Like, I'm really nervous about doing these video things, man. It's you don't have too much room for error on here, so I'm gonna try to make this as smooth a show as possible. But I expect to be some hiccups along the way. Hopefully, the feed looks good. It sounds good. If the audio levels are off, if you're watching this on YouTube and the audio levels are off, or if you have any suggestions, please sound off in the comments below or hit us up on an email, podcast@shortpause.com. We take your feedback very seriously, and it's the only way this show is going to get better. So make sure you sound off. Gentlemen, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. We have the Nintendo Switch presentation. We got to talk about that. The Switch, everything that was announced, some of the stuff that wasn't announced. And then we've also got to talk about other big news like Scalebound for Xbox One being canceled. And then on the Sony front, Guerrilla Cambridge, a very good studio, a very talented developer studio, is being closed this week, or was closed this week. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But let's get into these new releases. Mr. Boyce, what do we got coming up this week, buddy?
Yeah, with our super fancy episode number 100 release list. Let's get into it because we've got a lot to discuss with the Nintendo Switch. That's going to be a big topic on the show. So let's get in here and bang these out. For the PlayStation first, the big title this week is Gravity Rush 2. It's a Friday release. It's coming out January 20th, and game is reviewing really well. So actually, an early embargo on this game, which is usually a good sign. Mm-hmm. Usually when these developers are confident, or these publishers are confident in a game, they'll go ahead and unleash the early embargo, let the word get out there, and let people start experiencing it and getting some of the reviews out there. And that's what happened with Gravity Rush. The embargo lifted, I don't remember when exactly, but well ahead of the release date of this game. So they obviously felt confident in the product. This is an incredibly beautiful looking game, and every time I watch this thing in motion, I'm just like, man, that is a good looking title. And from what I understand, it looks good on the Pro as well. So Gravity Rush 2, this is a game that should be right up my alley, but I still haven't played the first Gravity Rush. It was something I always wanted to experience on my Vita. Never got around to it. Haven't got around to playing the remaster on the PS4. But obviously, this is like a game with super heroic tendencies and powers, and the first game was like an origin story of the character. So it's a franchise I've been meaning to get into for a while now, and just haven't for whatever reason. But Gravity Rush 2 looks awesome. Sounds like it's an awesome game from what I've read. Brent, what are your thoughts on Gravity Rush 2? Did you ever play through the first one on Vita?
I played quite a bit of it, but I never finished it. And it was a great game on the Vita. It was a very good-looking game for
I played
a
a little
Vita
bit of it on the Vita, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, it was a fantastic game on the Vita. Looked really good, played very well. The story was actually really interesting. But I am very interested in checking this out on the PlayStation 4. Obviously, the type of game that Gravity Rush is very graphically intense. And to see this thing on the PlayStation 4, I'm sure is going to be very beautiful, especially with all the gravity shifting and the world spinning around you as you maneuver through it. I bet you it's just going a beautiful-looking game. I'm just not sure if I can squeeze it in this week. I've got a lot going on, but I am definitely interested in this game.
Bender, Gravity Rush seems like a franchise that's right up your alley as well. I know you're into superheroes like I am. I know you like the games with powers and with heroic stories. This game has a little bit of Infamous in it as well. It's got that kind of feel to it, even though it's a much different game. But did you ever play Gravity Rush when it came over to the PS4, or what are you thinking about Gravity Rush 2 now that it's almost here?
I'm definitely interested in it. I never got around to playing the remastered first one when it came to PS4, so it's something I still want to do at some point. But yeah, I've been hearing good things about Gravity Rush 2, so I'm definitely interested in checking it out at some point. I don't know when, but I mean, maybe before March. I don't know. Maybe I'll be able to jump into it a little bit. But
yeah,
once Zelda's out, my life is over for a while.
Gotcha. Franklin, sounds like with Gravity Rush 2 that we might have a sleeper hit on our hands here. A lot of good word of mouth, a lot of good press on this thing. What do you think about Gravity Rush 2, man?
Like you, I think I dabbled with the original Gravity Rush. Except I think I played it on the Vita, but of course I have the PS4 disc sitting here that I'd love to get to at some point. But of course, as it does, time got away from me. So I do want to pick it up, but I'm kind of trying to not buy a lot of things this year, just because there's a lot of stuff coming out that's more expensive. I got 2 systems I'm maybe looking at getting this year, maybe 3. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited to play it nonetheless. I haven't really made time to play the demo yet. I did download it, so it's just kind of chilling there. But I figured I would go back to the first game first, and then by that point the game's going to be out, so I should really just get rid of the demo. But I'm excited to sit down and get my hands on it when I do eventually acquire a copy. But I got my hands full. I got a couple games I want to get out of the way first, so kind of figured I'd put that one off a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have this thing about these games where it eats at me, or it's like an OCD thing, where if I haven't played the first game, I won't let myself play the second game. So I need to go back and play the first one so I can play the second one. But by all accounts, it sounds like it's going to be a really cool game. Hopefully I can experience Gravity Rush some point in the future. Once again, that's coming out this week, but it's a Friday release. So Gravity Rush 2, look out for that. Go check out some of the coverage on the game if you're unfamiliar with it. I know it's a more low key title in Sony's stable, but like I said, hearing a lot of really good things about this game. Seems like it's gonna be worth your time. So go ahead and check that out on Friday.
I think I figured something out, boys. I think I finally figured it out. You never played Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, is that
That's why you haven't played 15 yet. You've never played 1. Oh,
you've solved the Rubik's Cube.
It makes sense now. Got it. All right, go ahead.
Wait. Did he play Infamous 1?
Oh, wow. Mind blown.
Before we completely derail this podcast, I have played Final Fantasy 1.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just for the record, on the NES, but never finished it. I had a friend who was obsessed with that game when I was in elementary school. One of my best friends lived down the street from me. Used to go to his house all the time. He was always playing Final Fantasy. Loved that game. I didn't understand it at the time. I was like, "What the hell are you playing this for, man? Like, what's so appealing about this game?" So once the Super Nintendo came around and I got into Final Fantasy 4, which was Final Fantasy 2 at that time on the Super Nintendo, that's when I finally understood and been hooked ever since. So there, I have played it.
Oh, okay, well, confirmed.
Also coming this week, another big title that I want to touch on is The Flame in the Flood, the Complete Edition. It's coming over to PS4. It's already on Xbox and the PC. It's making its debut here in the Complete Edition. I don't remember exactly what extras are included here, but this is a game I've always been really interested in. I've heard some really cool things about it. It's like a roguelike survival puzzle type of game.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really cool, really fantastic art style. We will be firing this up on the Thursday Night Indie Spotlight this week. So that's 10 p.m. Eastern. It's on our Twitch channel, Short Pause Live, twitch.tv/shortpauselive. So check us out on there. If you're interested in The Flame in the Flood, you get a chance to see what it's all about. Brent, what do you think of what you've seen of this game, man?
I know it's been on other platforms. Seeing the trailer again this week, this game looks beautiful. Those survival games can be very challenging. This looks to be the same. Like I said, it's just a matter of getting it in. But I am very interested in this game, and I'll be tuning into the Thursday Night Indie Spotlight. You sold me on another game to the Thursday Night Indie Spotlight with As Divine Hearts. I've played quite a bit of that the last 24 hours, and that's a very good JRPG. And so, once again, Boys fires up a Thursday Night Indie Spotlight and forces me to dip into my wallet. Thanks, man.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, man. Yeah, As Divine Hearts was pretty fun. It's a JRPG through and through. I mean, it's cut from the classic JRPG cloth. This is a game I could have played on the Super Nintendo. You know, it's just a straight up old school, whereas its influences on its sleeve JRPG. But that's not a bad thing. The characters are cool. Some of the mechanics that I got to play in some of the battles are really cool. You know, it looks beautiful. It's got this kind of enhanced 16-bit look to it. I haven't got a chance to try it on the Vita yet, but I feel like it's really going to excel on there. And from what you've said, it does excel on that platform. It's also a good experience on the PS4. So anybody that's in the mood for just an old school classic JRPG, I definitely recommend As Divine Hearts. You could do much better than to fire that game up. And it's from what I understand, it's a pretty beefy game. 30 to 40 hours we're talking here in terms of story and gameplay and all that stuff. So sizable adventure that you're going to get on there. But yeah, it was really fun to play that game for the spotlight. Franklin, what are your thoughts on Flame in the Flood, though, man? Getting back to this game. This of any interest to you? Did you play this on Xbox at all?
I did not. I've watched a couple of gameplay videos, and it looks like a good time. My concern is really in just the survival sim aspect of it. We Happy Few kind of really turned me off to that genre. Like, I don't want to sit here managing a bunch of different meters. So I don't know how involved those are with the game itself. So of course I'm hoping you'll touch on that a lot in the spotlight. But
Yeah.
I have high hopes for it. Depending how the spotlight goes, this is definitely on my really teetering on purchasing it list. So looking forward to it.
Gotcha. Yeah, from what I've seen of this game, it doesn't look like it's like super management heavy. Just from what I've watched on it, you know, there's action and there's obviously survival elements that you need to contend with, but it seems like it's more hands on than kind of stop and manage stuff. You know, from what I've seen. But I'll have to see when I get in there and play it. You know, watching a trailer is one thing, playing the game something completely different. Bender, this of any interest to you, man?
I don't know. Possibly. I'm not a really big on roguelike stuff, but
Well, I guess you'll have to watch the spotlight too, then, man.
I guess
You
We'll all be tuned in.
Well, I'll be tuned in. It'll be one big happy family. Awesome. All right, cool. So that's the Flame and the Flood that'll be out this Tuesday on the PS4 finally. I'm really looking forward to playing another game I'm actually really looking forward to, and I would have played it on the Spotlight if Flame and the Flood wasn't coming out this week, is 2064 Read-Only Memories. This is a game that was supposed to be out this past summer on both the PS4 and the Vita. Finally coming out now on the PS4 and PC. They're still working on the Vita version. They've had some trouble getting the port over to the Vita, so not done with that one yet. But this is a really cool cyberpunk adventure game that looks really interesting, fully voice acted. It's got this cool 16-bit art style. I like what I've seen of this game. This looks like something that would be really fun as well, so definitely recommend checking this one out. Also this week, Fate Extella, the Umbral Star. This is the next in this series. This is the long-running Fate series. I think this is based on an anime. I believe this is like an action RPG series. Dead Effect 2, first-person survival game, coming over to the system this week. Joe's Diner, the adventure game that's about a diner built on an Indian burial ground. So we'll see what that one's all about. Quest of Dungeons, very cool looking game. Has a cool 16-bit art style. It looks kind of like Crypt of the Necrodancer, but it plays like a traditional turn-based roguelike without the rhythm-based elements. I think that one's only like $5 or $10 too, so that would be one worth checking out. RWBY, Grim Eclipse. I don't know if you're supposed to say that as a word or if that's the initials. This is another thing based on an anime. This is an action, almost like a Dynasty Warriors type of a game. Cooperative play in this as well. Actually, a really good looking game. So if you're into that kind of stuff, maybe check that one out. Siegecraft Commander is a real-time strategy game. It'll be out on the system this week. On the DLC front, WWE 2K17 getting the Future Stars pack. And one other note here, the Platinum Wireless headset will arrive this Thursday, January 19th. Brent, you sent me something not too long ago where we were kind of checking out the 3D audio aspect of the Platinum Wireless headset, which sounds really cool, man. Why don't you talk a little bit about that for a second?
Yeah, there was a developer diary on Sony's PlayStation YouTube channel where they interviewed members of Naughty Dog, and they were talking about the 3D audio. My question was 3D audio is obviously a part of PlayStation VR. That's where you can pop on just a regular stereo headphones, and the system processes 3D sound, so you can hear everything above you, below you. It's very spacious. You can pinpoint, certain areas where enemies or shots or anything or any kind of sound is coming from. Mm-hmm. And it looks like the Platinum headset will be able to support that feature for Uncharted 4. There's not a lot of games just yet that have it announced, but they're kind of hoping that other developers will make use of it. And my question was is 3D audio better than 7.1 surround sound? Because that's the only reason I would pick it up is if 3D audio is supposed to be a better tech than 7.1 surround sound. And based on what they're saying in that video, and obviously it's Naughty Dog, they're Sony owned, but at the same time, the way these guys were talking about how 3D audio works and how it'll work in Uncharted 4, and not to mention the Platinum Wireless headset has bigger drivers or speakers in its headset than the Gold Wireless. So I mean, this sounds like a very capable headset, and I'm seriously considering picking this up for my Pro, and then I can also use it for my PlayStation VR. But it's a cool looking headset. It is very pricey, but I'm willing to jump into it, try it out, and then talk to our listeners about it.
Yeah, it sounds really cool with the 3D audio. The 3D audio being able to hear where the sounds are coming from, above, below you, around you. That sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. Even outside of that, for the games that don't support that, this does simulate 7.1 surround sound in the headset. So that's not a bad feature as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in headsets, maybe keep your eye out for that one. We'll see how that one turns out this Thursday. That's it for the PS4. On the PS3 side of things, just getting that WWE 2K17 DLC. For the Vita, we've got Atelier Shally Plus, Alchemist of the Dusk Seas. This is apparently the conclusion of the Atelier Shally Plus saga, so get that on the Vita this week. Fate Extella, the Umbral Star, is coming over to the Vita this week as well. And Super Magical, very cool looking, bubble popping puzzle game. Very, very cool looking cartoony art style. Looks like this is something that's going to excel on the Vita as well. So check that one out this week. On the Xbox One side of things, we have RWBY, Grim Eclipse, coming over there. And how about this one? Saban's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mega Battle. This is a basically like a side-scrolling brawler. It actually looks really cool. All of the stages are based on episodes of the old TV show. So if you were a Power Rangers kid at heart, like some of us were, cough Frankie cough, this will be something that might appeal to you. What do you think about this one, Franklin? I know you've talked a little bit about it. Looks really cool from what I've seen. Is this something you're contemplating picking up this week?
Not this week. I'm gonna wait for the PS4 version, but yeah, the gameplay of this actually looks really cool. It reminds me of like the old Genesis side scrollers.
Oh yeah.
Namely the Power Rangers movie game. So yeah, I'm actually everything I've seen in this game. It looks like a lot of fun. The art style is really cool. It's really awesome how they kind of like have when you get the Megazord, like all the different pieces coming together. It looks pretty cool. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to hopping into this game at some point. I don't know when it's coming to PS4, but that'll be where I hop in.
Yeah, I thought, I know you mentioned something about it, and I couldn't find anything about this coming to Xbox first, so this might be something where it could come out on the PS4 this week. Maybe it just wasn't in the PS4 release list.
Yeah.
That happens occasionally. If not, I would anticipate maybe next week we'll get it on the PS4. I'm not sure if the parity clause is still in effect for Microsoft, but maybe that's something they had to get around with this game. Who knows? But but it's listed as coming to Xbox this Tuesday, so we can anticipate it being there. Also on Xbox this week, Siegecraft Commanders coming over there on Tuesday. A bunch of Friday releases for the platform. I Am Bread making its appearance on Xbox One this Friday. Spheroids, the interesting platformer that we talked about last week, is coming over to the system. Hunter's Legacy, a very beautiful looking Metroidvania game. It's cheap too. It's only like $6.99. This looks like kind of a cool game. I'm interested to hear more about that one. That's coming out this Friday. Metrico Plus, another PlayStation game, making its way over to the Xbox this week. The cool puzzle game about jumping on graphs and pie charts and all that kind of stuff. Toby the Secret Mine, which looks almost exactly like Feist, which I played a few weeks ago. Looks like to be something in that genre of Feist or like Limbo. So it might be a cool one to keep your eye on as well. And then the adventure game The Assembly coming to the platform this Friday. And of course the WWE DLC will be on there to be on the Xbox 360 as well. So nice little lineup of digital games for the Xbox One this week. Let's get into Nintendo now. For the Wii U, what we missed last week, F-Zero X is available now on the system. It's part of the N64 Virtual Console. It's on there for $10 now, so pick that up if you missed that. This week, Toby the Secret Mine and Koi Deluxe, or DX. I'm assuming that means Deluxe, but I'm not sure. Those are both coming to the eShop for the Wii U this week. Koi was the fish game on the PS4 earlier last year, if you remember correctly. On the 3DS, what we missed last week was Shift DX. It's on the eShop now for $5. This week, the system is getting Color Cubes for $1.49. The big-time PC indie hit Punch Club coming over to the 3DS this week. So that should be a cool one on Thursday. And then Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. Just an enormous game in Japan when it came out on the PS2 at the time. It's been revamped or brought over to the 3DS now. So quite the stable of RPGs on that little machine there. It's got almost every single Dragon Quest game on there, which is really cool. But this is a big one. Was I think it's one of the highest selling games of all time, something along those lines. But it'll be out on the 3DS this week. And that's going to do it for the new releases. Brent, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. And let's jump into our first bit of news, probably the biggest news of the week. The Nintendo Switch presentation took place Thursday night. All four of us watched it together. You can check out our live reaction video. It's up on our YouTube channel, Short Pause Gaming. We watched the entire press conference. Frankie was about 20 seconds into the future, which is amazing. And it's a pretty cool stream. Like, we just kind of sat around. It's a cool stream, and the fact that we got it to work. In terms of what we watched, it's kind of a mixed bag right now. And we had some time to think about these last couple days. We're going to jump into the Switch presentation. First things first, the Nintendo Switch will launch Friday, March 3rd. Worldwide, March 3rd, the Nintendo Switch will be available. There'll be two SKUs, both of them running $299. One is an all-gray model, whereas the other one has blue and red Joy-Con controllers. And I believe you said there were salmon red and baby blue were the colors. Now, all four of us have pre-ordered a copy or a system. Did anybody get the colored ones?
Nope.
Everyone went straight gray. I like it. Yeah, we weren't too big on the colors offered in that set. Like I said, the salmon red and the baby blue. But if you were able to pre-order a system, which one did you choose? Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at The Short Pause, or sound off in the comments below, or send us an email, podcast@shortpause.com. We want to know what system you chose, because we all chose gray. So now we have the release date. We have the price. Everyone wants to know now, what are the launch titles? I mean, is this thing going to be a robust launch lineup? I mean, it's a new system from Nintendo. Obviously, they want to win fans back who they may have abandoned with the Wii U. So obviously, boys, they're going to launch this system with a plethora of games, a wide variety of games. We're talking 30 games at least, right? From third party to first party and indie game. I mean, there's got to be a ton of games for this system, correct?
Obviously, I mean, they held back the reveal. They held back the system for this long, just so they could have a really, really strong launch lineup. So it's a no-brainer that the launch lineup is just robust.
Excuse me, I'm choking on all the sarcasm.
Well, everyone, sit down, grab something to eat. I'm going to go through this entire launch lineup. All right? You guys comfortable? Everyone's sitting down? Mm-hmm. Alongside the Nintendo Switch on March 3rd, you will have the choices, the many choices for your launch titles. You have The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Obviously, the biggest launch title of this bunch. I mean, there's a lot of games here, but I mean, this is the big one. This is Zelda. This is the one everyone's been waiting for. Alongside Zelda, you have Skylanders Imaginators. Now, this is a brand new Skylanders game, right?
Nope.
Oh. Well, when did this come out?
October. On a lot of places.
Well, that's sort of new. I mean, it's sort of new, so that's cool. That's a good thing for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
So let's move it along. Let's keep it going. Like I said, we got a lot of games to talk about here. Super Bomberman R.
That's a new one.
There's a new one.
New.
Super Bomberman R. We've also got Just Dance 17. Obviously, Ubisoft's got to get in on this. So you got Just Dance 17. So there's 4 titles. It's out of control. And is this the last one? It is the last one. 1-2 Switch. That's brand new.
Brand new IP.
And if Zelda isn't a system seller, this is. So we have. That's it. We have
Got to be more.
We have 5 games confirmed for launch. 5. I'm going to go to the fact checking desk. Bender. How many games did the Wii launch with?
This is kind of funny because Frankie mentioned something on Twitter, so I looked it up because I was like, this is a terrible launch lineup. The Wii launched with 21 titles. The
21.
Wii U launched with 32 launch titles.
32. And we're not talking launch window. We're talking launch day, correct?
Launch day, yep.
The Wii U launched with a third of its total library on launch day.
Oh, my goodness, that's bad. So we have 5 titles launching on March 3rd. Breath of the Wild easily standing above the rest.
The only one that matters.
The only one that matters. But don't worry, you got 3 more games coming out in March. Launch window games. You've got Snipper Clippers. Yay. Fast RMX. That one actually looked pretty good. That was the racing game, correct?
Yeah, it looks like it's a sequel to Fast Racing Neo.
What's that?
Yeah.
The racing game is called Red Out.
There's 2 of them.
There's 2 racing games?
There's Red Out and Fast RMX are both coming to the Switch, and they both look kind of similar, actually.
Okay.
Very similar.
So you got the racing game, and then Has Been Heroes. So you got 3 other games showing up in March, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. You got another game coming a month later. April 28th, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which looks awesome, by the way, which they barely showed during the presentation. You had to wait for it. Yeah, you have to wait for afterwards for a trailer to pop up on Nintendo's channel. This game looked really good. And better now, there's a lot of changes to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, correct?
They finally fixed battle mode, which I'm so happy about. The battle mode in Mario Kart 8 on Wii U was terrible, and it wasn't even worth playing. But they looks like they're bringing battle mode back to its roots. They're bringing back some of the old stages, and I guess they have some new stages, and some of the old items they're bringing back. Like the trailer showed Mario using the feather. Remember the feather from the Super Nintendo game?
Yeah.
This is the first time we've had that item since that game. It hasn't been any other Mario Kart game
You used
since.
to jump over walls with that.
Mm-hmm. Get shortcuts and races and stuff. I hope you can
Jump
use it
over
in the
those
racing too.
annoying chocolate pits that you
Yeah.
guys get stuck in that one
Exactly.
level.
Yep. And they're also adding, I think, some new characters. I know like King Boo and Dry Bones and the Splatoon Inkling boy and girl are both going to be playable.
Oh, okay.
So, pretty
But
cool.
that is pretty cool. But unfortunately, that is it for launch window titles. I mean, you've got some stuff planned for spring 2017, and we've got stuff for fall. Some big titles like Mario Odyssey that comes out later this year. You got Skyrim was announced. That's coming out later this year in the fall. But guys, let's talk about this launch lineup. I mean, for a system that is actually $50 more than what we expected it to be. Okay, we were thinking $249 is the winning price. Now this system, and here's my concern. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. This system is launching at the same price as the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. It's launching in the middle of a window of games that are just massive. Mass Effect, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost Recon Wildlands, just to name a few. This is falling smack dab in the middle of that window of a release of that release slate. This thing is coming in at $300 with 5 games at launch. Bender, I want to start with you. You've been very excited for the Nintendo Switch, and don't get me wrong, viewers and listeners. We have a lot of hope for this system, but there's a lot of concern with this presentation. And I want to start with Bender first with the launch titles. What's up, man?
I don't know. It's disappointing. I was really expecting them to come out swinging and have an awesome launch lineup. I mean, even if they didn't have Zelda and Mario on launch day, I was expecting there to be more things and stuff we didn't know about. And it's you would think for them to try to push this new system and get it out there and get people to buy it. I mean, you're going to have some good titles that are going to want to make people buy it. There's going to have to be games there for people to play. I mean, I just don't think that the games that are there, other than Zelda, just don't think the games that are there are really worth buying the system for. If Zelda wasn't launching with the system, I would not be buying a Switch day one. Not at all. Not with the rest of those games that are there. They're just not worth it to me. The Bomberman game looks cool. I might pick that up, but other than that, I mean, 1-2 Switch looks like a dumb mini game thing that like doesn't really interest me. I don't even what everything else is just like there's a bunch of old games that have already been out for a while. I don't know. It's disappointing. I'm not sure what to think of it, but I've already pre-ordered my Switch and Zelda and everything. That's the game I was really excited for. So that's what I'll be playing. But I just wish there was more things to entice more people to buy this thing. Otherwise, it might be in trouble if nobody's wanting to buy it on day one.
Mm-hmm. Frankie, I know you were excited for the Switch as well. I want to get your thoughts on the launch titles, and what compared to what you were expecting.
This is what kills me about all these insiders, all these rumor stirrers like Emily Rogers and them. They started when people were talking about specs. They were the ones talking up the launch lineup. So you start hearing things about this Mario Rabbids RPG, a new Luigi's Mansion, GameCube games. Like, this is the stuff that I was expecting to see at this conference, and none of that was there. So, you got these people hyping this launch lineup, and here's 5 games. Only one of them I plan on picking up, which, don't get me wrong, I mean, considering everything that's coming out around that time, for us, as people who buy games on all these other platforms, that's great. We only need to worry about one game when we buy this thing, but, I mean, for anyone out there who already has, like, an Xbox or a PlayStation, and you want to be on a Nintendo system, that launch lineup sucks, man. The only thing I can think about that might be a saving grace is the virtual console games for me personally, because I didn't buy a lot on the Wii U. I don't have a lot that I'm losing when they bring out all these games for me to buy yet again. And I know they said they're going to talk about the virtual console closer to launch, so I'm hoping we still have at least something there. I understand that these are games people have already probably played hundreds of times over, but if the rumors about GameCube games being on there are true, I know I'm going to be wanting to go back to Smash Brothers Melee, and hopefully they get Mario Kart Double Dash on there. Also, I never played Mario Sunshine, so if that rumor pans out, that'd be great too. So I'm hoping that despite the fact that yes, we have 5 physical games there on day one, that at least the virtual console will pick up some of the slack for me.
Right. Okay. And now, boys, you were the most skeptical coming into this event, but you still were really hoping that when Nintendo
Skeptical? Me?
just a little skeptical. But you were really hoping Nintendo would do enough to kind of draw you back in, get you re-excited for the Nintendo brand that you loved growing up. I mean, you've mentioned before that you were born on Nintendo platforms. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the launch titles, the price, everything that we saw about the Nintendo Switch?
I'm a little conflicted. I mean, obviously the launch lineup very, very lackluster. I mean, it's weird to say that when you have a brand new Zelda game at launch, but and we also have to remember that this game is going to be on the Wii U as well. So the people that have a Wii U that may have been contemplating upgrading to a Switch, what motivation do they have? It's the same game. They're going to be playing on the Switch that they could still play on the Wii U. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, launching with the Zelda is awesome. But 5 games, I can't remember a system launching with 5 games before. So unless there's more that they're planning to add to this list, I can't think of a system that had that few games at launch. And I quipped to you that this might be the first game in the history of video gaming that has a 1-to-1 tie ratio with a platform. Because if you buy a Switch, how do you not buy Zelda at launch? Like you don't buy that, you're like, man, I'm gonna buy, Just Dance 2017 with my new console here. It's like you have to buy this system for Zelda. If Zelda is not attached to that system, like I think Bomberman looks awesome, but that's not a game you buy a system for. Mm-mm. Skylanders is actually a really good game, but that's available on a million other platforms. Same thing with Just Dance. So if you're not buying it for Zelda, like I would be shocked. So and contrary to popular belief, not everybody likes Zelda. Mm-hmm. So if you don't like Zelda, you have literally no reason to buy this system. There's none. So yeah, it's really weird because, and then Frankie's talked about this before, but I thought that we were waiting for them to show this system or to bring this system out because they wanted to bring it out with a strong lineup of software. That was the problem with the Wii U. The Wii U struggled because it didn't have the software to sustain an audience. So people, played a few of the games that they liked on there, and they went and did other things. And if you weren't a Nintendo fan or you weren't just a hardcore Nintendo player, you didn't buy the Wii U and get into the games because there's nothing else there for you to play. So, and yeah, it's just very, very concerning with that. I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff that we're concerned about as well. But as far as just the launch lineup goes, it's very concerning that there's only 5 games there, and the third-party support that we have seen for this system, from what they've shown, is old games. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Skyrim, which is a 2011 game. I understand they just remade it for the PS4 and for the Xbox One, but that's not the version that the Switch is going to get. It can't handle that same version that those systems are getting. So I don't know what version of Skyrim they're getting, if it's somewhere in between those ones. They're getting Rayman Legends. Came out 4 years ago. In another version of that for the Switch. Just Dance, Skylanders. These are all games that have been on a million different platforms. So it's the same thing we saw at the beginning of the Wii U. That system launched with Mass Effect 3 and Batman Arkham City and a bunch of games we had already played on other platforms. Like, that was the third-party support, and that got us thinking, oh, okay, well, they've got some big guns on it. They've got WB and EA, and these people are making games for it, so that gives us some hope, and then it was all downhill from there. Mm-hmm. So, it feels like the Wii U all over again with what we've seen from the Switch here in the early going. So the launch lineup is just it's very concerning from a longevity perspective.
There's one platform that had one less launch game on it.
Oh, what's that?
Anyone want to guess? Anyone?
I know, because I was just looking that up too.
Oh, Bender.
Is it the Virtual Boy?
It is!
Wow.
Oh, man.
We know how that system turned out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's just, and when we talk about the press conference, with the games, I mean, they spent the first 20, 30 minutes talking about
at least 30 minutes.
1-2 Switch, a game that I don't think anyone other than maybe my son would be excited about. My 3-year-old kid just wailing around at the screen.
Dude, you don't want to milk a cow?
No.
You don't look at the TV.
Oh, yeah, you don't even look at the TV. You can just walk around and wave it around like a lightsaber.
You look into your opponent's eyes.
Yeah, oh, that's right. You're supposed to look into your eyes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just,
Don't forget, I got a date with Saginaw, so I can stare into your baby blue.
man, I'll have my doors locked with the alarm set, dude. With a
Dude,
10.
can you imagine us staring into each other's eyes and milking a cow together?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
that's
And live streaming it. And make sure we live stream that.
and live streaming,
And just
yeah,
have some
that's,
like sultry saxophone music in the background, just lightly
Kenny
playing.
G in the background.
Dude,
Yeah.
that'd be hot.
Is this a kids game?
What? It was. It was. So obviously the launch titles are a concern. Let's jump into some of the specs regarding the system that we learned about. First of all, battery life. The Switch alone, the portable version, can last more than 6 hours, but it's depending on the software usage conditions. For example, Breath of the Wild can be played for roughly 3 hours on a single charge. Were you guys, is that about on par with what you guys were expecting, or were you expecting a little more power? I mean, obviously this is a 720 display on the Switch, on the portable version. That's going to obviously tax the battery, especially if you're running a game like Breath of the Wild. But does that fall in line with what you guys were expecting for battery life, Frankie?
Yeah, for a game like that, absolutely. Anything that taxing is going to kill the battery on that thing immediately. So that's, yeah.
And now, boys, obviously for you, you don't have a lot of time to play on the Switch at work or on the go or anything like that. So is the battery life even really a concern to you? Because you've told me multiple times you're more interested in playing this thing on your big screen.
Yeah, I like portable gaming. I love my Vita. I love being able to play that, and I do fire it up when I'm upstairs or I'm on the couch or I'm in the bed and that kind of stuff. I get a few minutes in here and there, but for the most part, the majority of my gaming comes on the big screen. So if a game like Zelda, you get 3 hours out of it, I think that's good. That's probably what we were expecting. Expecting any more of that is probably unrealistic for a game of that size. So if one of these big AAA games we can get 3 hours out of that thing, they gave us an extremely wide range from 2.5 to 6 hours. So it's a huge gamut there. So if a game like Zelda runs 3 hours, I think that's perfect. That's probably what it should be.
And Bender, now I know you take your 3DS everywhere with you. 3 hours sound about right?
Yeah, sounds okay to me. I'm not playing when I'm on the go. I'm not playing much more. Any more than that anyway. And you've got a charger. If you're playing, you have a long road trip. I'm sure they're gonna have car chargers and stuff. So it's not really an issue for me. So I think that sounds all right.
Based on the accessory prices, can't wait to see how much that car charger costs.
Oh my god, $300.
You might have to take out an actual car mortgage to afford the car charger.
Absolutely brutal.
The nice thing though, that USB-C, I got a Google Pixel, and actually that's the charger it uses for that. That thing actually has like a rapid charge feature. It charges pretty damn fast. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at least there's that. If you're worried about your battery dying, probably charge it for about 45 minutes, and you probably have a good hour or so.
Okay.
Again.
Oh hey, there you go. The more you know.
I think that's what's on my laptop too. I think my Apple at work has a USB-C charger on it as well.
Charge pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, silver lining. We'll talk about the screen for a moment. On the Switch itself, it's a 6.2-inch multi-touch capacitive touch screen. The max resolution on the Switch is 720p. That's when you have it on the go. But when you plug it into the Switch dock station, it is capable of outputting to 1080p, much like they talked about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Will run at 1080p, 60 frames when you plug it into the dock station, and then when you take it out, it'll go down to 720p. We don't have confirmation what the frame rate will be on the go, do we? Or is that still up in the air? They haven't clarified on that.
I don't think they've clarified the frame rate on the actual tablet itself, but they also noted that on Mario Kart, if you were to go split screen, like the frame rate will go down to 30 frames.
Oh, okay.
So if you were to do 2 players or whatever, that goes down to 30.
Okay.
Off of the 60, but if you're just there by yourself, you should get 1080p 60 frames on it.
And they had that, like I said, like Benner mentioned, that trailer they showed up afterwards. That thing was at 1080p 60, and it looks really good. Yeah, it looks like it's running very, very well. So,
by the way, this whole entire spec sheet exactly what was reported months in advance. So this whatever Eurogamer had in that article or whatever, this is exactly how it turned out. Everything was the same.
Which is probably why Nintendo didn't spend much time of it during the press conference talking about it. They're like, man, everyone knows everything, so let's just tell them the stuff they don't know. And we're really glad that the launch title lineup was under wraps so well. So let's talk about what's in the box real quick. When you pay $300 for a Nintendo Switch, you get the Switch, one set of Joy-Con controllers. We'll talk about the pricing here in a moment. The docking station, a Joy-Con strap that obviously fits on the little Joy-Con controllers, kind of gives you the bumpers a little bit better, and you can wrap it around your wrist so you don't lose it. The Joy-Con grip, which is what you plug the two Joy-Cons into when you want to play on the big screen. It acts as a controller. And then obviously the AC adapter and the HDMI cord. Now, in regards to pricing, if you were to lose your Joy-Con controllers, you'd have to plunk down $80 for another set. $80 for another set. Oh, but hey, if you lose one of them, $50. For one half of the Joy-Con set, it is $50. Dude, you better keep that strap on your wrist tight, real tight, and maybe add a second one for good measure. The Joy-Con strap is only $7.99, so that's not too bad.
There you go.
Yeah, see, it's a little bit better. But now remember
I'm
when...
going to take out some scissors and just cut that. It's only $7.99.
Man, that's pocket change.
Yeah.
Now, you remember how they talked about the docking station? You can actually buy extras for around the house if you want to plug it into a different TV, and they mentioned it'd be an affordable property to buy separately. $90.
Not so affordable.
$90 to buy another docking station for your house.
Yeah. That'll I'll be unplugging that one. Moving it around.
The Joy-Con grip, if you lose that, $30. And then a couple items that you can pick up separately. The one that I'm most interested in is the Switch Pro controller. That is $70.
Man.
How much is a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One controller, base model?
60.
55.
55.
60.
Yeah, 55 for the black one. Xbox controllers, I think, are 60.
Okay. So higher than those systems. And then if you want to get a Joy-Con wheel, there's sets of two. Those are actually decently priced, $14.99 for a set. So you can take the little Joy-Con controllers, plug it into this wheel, and drive around a Mario Kart, I'm presuming.
So if you want to relive Mario Kart Wii all over again, you can.
Not doing that.
Yeah, like who wants that? Like who wants to play that way again?
I know people who
it wasn't good the first time.
I know people who prefer to play like that on Mario Kart Wii, and I've never understood it.
Really?
She's
Yeah.
not friends with them anymore.
Yeah, I used to know people who play like that.
Right.
Sorry, GameCube controllers only.
So in regards to what's coming in the box, I think we were all really excited to see the AC adapter in there because, Nintendo. So we were thrilled about that. Thanks for including that this time. But pricing, overall thoughts on that. Bender, I want to start with you. You obviously buy a lot of stuff for Nintendo. What do you think of those prices, man? Especially another docking station for $90.
It's kind of ridiculous, especially with the Joy-Con controllers. I mean, they're like, hey, we have these tiny controllers that are probably going to be easy to lose. Let's charge $80 to replace them. It's insane. Those prices are bound to come down because I'm not going to pay for them. I mean, I'm going to try my best not to lose that Joy-Con controller. I'm never going to be playing it by itself anyway. It's always going to be connected to the system, or else I'm playing with a Pro controller at home. I will buy a Pro controller, even though it's $70. That's a little expensive, but yeah, I'm probably never going to be unhooking the Joy-Con controllers for anything. So hopefully I won't lose them because those prices are crazy for those accessories.
You're not going to play with the Joy-Con controllers? I mean, look at the video. I mean, the guy was like, man, this is super convenient, and his little hands were all cramped around.
Little tiny shoulder buttons.
Dude, that looks terrible. I would never, ever... Dude, if somebody's like, hey, man, can we play two-player? I'm like, yeah, go buy a Switch. We'll do local. You're not using this controller, neither am I. This thing is staying plugged in. I will never, ever play with those little itty-bitty controllers. Boys?
I see Ethan coming down. He's like, Dad, can we play? You're like, go to your room.
No, I would,
Don't come out.
I just be like,
Don't come out until I tell you.
write a letter to Mrs. Claus. Let her know that you you need another Switch for Christmas. She'll handle that one. Mrs. Claus will take care of that. But boys, I want to talk to you real quick just about these prices. I mean, is this Nintendo being Nintendo? I mean, what is up with this?
Yeah, I mean these are outrageous prices. There's no two ways about it. So I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to make up money on this thing. If they're they said they weren't going to sell the Switch at a loss, so I would assume that they're not selling it at a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe they. I don't know. But these, $80 for these controllers, $90 for a dock. I mean, this is outrageous. These are outrageous prices. I don't see anybody like beating the door down to try and get these things. I mean, you better treat these things like gold. 'Cause if you break one of these docks, you're basically shelling out a third of the money for the system just to get another dock. So it's extremely pricey. Even the basic stuff like the Pro controller, like why is that $70?
It's Nintendo, man. It's a Pro controller. It's like the Xbox Elite controller, only it's the Pro controller.
I guess so, man. And that doesn't even include. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have like fighting controllers and stuff too to play some of these fighting games.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen any of those yet. So really really pricey on the accessories. So hopefully, people don't have to buy too many of those. That was one of the things that really hurt the Vita when it came out, was the price of these accessories.
Man, the memory cards.
Yeah. So thankfully the Switch uses regular SD memory cards, and none of these accessories you have to have in order to make it work. So it's got that going for it. But yeah, just really outrageous on these prices.
Now, Frankie, I know
not getting any more goodwill from the pricing of these accessories.
No, not at all. Frankie, I know you and Jen both like to play video games together. Man, how do you feel about having to go out and buy another set of Joy-Con controllers for $80 and another grip for $30? I mean, that's $100 and I got to do math again. Hold on, 30 plus 80, that's $110, right?
That's $400.
So basically, Frankie, if Jen wants, and you got to put the, I don't know if you need the straps, but that's $110 if you want to get Jen playing a game with you, dude.
Mm-hmm. I was looking back actually just now. So if you were a Wii owner and you were to buy a Wii and a nunchuck, that would run you $60.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know we're still talking $20 more, but I don't know. I guess maybe it's not as absurd as I was initially thinking it was, but I think it's just because of the size of those things. Like, you look at those and you're like, these don't cost that much. Come on.
Right.
But the thing that really irritates me, and this is why I didn't want to get the neon controller bundle, is if I buy them, I want the same color grips on that thing. I don't want a red and a blue. I just want either all red, all blue, all gray. I don't want weird color mixing. So I did see they do offer, we get the red ones for $80. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be going out and buying those. So I'm not going to get a Pro controller right away. I'm going to see how, the Joy-Cons are on the little, what is that, the little
Joy-Con grip. Yeah, Joy-Con grip.
Yeah. That thing looks weird. So I'm hoping it's comfortable, because it's kind of strange, like, seeing him when he takes it off and you have, like, this weird, like, controller frame. I'm like, I hope that's comfortable. So
I do too.
I did read some stuff that some people said it was comfortable, so
that's
more comfortable than it looks.
I did see too that they get about 20 hours out of a charge, so that's
pretty good.
For each one of them, I think it is. So.
Yeah. So that's
not bad.
That's good too, and I think you can charge them when you have the system docked, and if you have the Joy-Cons on the console itself, it'll charge. So that's good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Minor penny saving.
I think can't you charge them from the grip as well?
Yeah, the grip acts as a charger
yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about the SD cards. I just want to touch on that for a moment. There will be 32 gigabytes of internal storage. Obviously, portions of that will be reserved for the system. The Switch will support micro SD cards up to 2 terabytes. So if you want to get one of those, you can. And also, the Switch...
Brent, on the 2 terabytes, I read 256 gigabytes.
Cool. It has external hard drive support. I think that's what the 2 terabytes is.
Oh, okay, yeah, because the article that I read mentioned that. Well, we'll try to confirm this for the listeners and viewers, but I read that.
I think the reason it was 256 is because that's as high as those particular cards went.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, because it said, from what I heard, I don't remember if it was Reggie or whoever said it, but it was like the the system will support the SD, HD, X, or whatever the hell they're called cards up to the highest storage capacity that's available right now.
Okay.
Which I think was 256 gigabytes. So maybe that was an external hard drive thing that you read.
Yeah, because Frankie mentioned it, and that is confirmed as well. This thing is ready for external USB drives via the dock, but it's not going to be available at launch. It will be available at some point, but not at launch. But yes, you'll be able to hook up external USB drives via the dock.
Like many things not available at launch.
Yeah, there's a lot not available at launch. So we've talked about the system specs. We've talked about the launch lineup. Now, if there is one thing we have all been anxious to hear about, it's the online services, the Nintendo online network. What will this be like? Well, we found out a little bit, and this is going to be called the Nintendo Switch Online Services. It will be active at launch. It'll be free beginning in March, but the service will become a paid service in the fall. Now, you need this service for online multiplayer gaming and cooperative games. Most games will require a paid online service subscription from Nintendo to play online. This service will also provide you with exclusive deals. And now, of course, it's an online service, and much like PlayStation and Xbox, you'll get a free monthly game to download. And these games can be either an NES game or a SNES game with newly added online play, and you get this for free. But there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
It's only free for a month. After a month, you actually need to buy it to continue playing. So unlike PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, when you get your free game, as long as you add it to your library, it's yours forever. That's not the case with Nintendo's online service.
So one Super Mario Brothers, which many Nintendo fans have bought 5 times over. Mm-hmm. So they're going to give us Super Mario Brothers for a month, then they're going to take it back. But I just want to make sure we're clear on this.
But then you can
this
buy
is
it again.
Not a new game.
Now you can buy
not
it again.
Not a new Switch game.
No.
A 1985 Nintendo game. They're going to take it back from us.
Yep. Not even Rayman Legends. An NES or SNES game. Now, I think that's cool that you would get a free NES, SNES game. But the fact that they take it from you after the month, and the only way you can continue to play it is by buying it. What happens if this is a game? Are there any NES, SNES games you can buy on the eShop vendor?
Yeah. There's lots of them you can buy on the eShop.
So I guess my question would be, okay, say what's a game that you bought from the SNES or an NES game that you bought for the Wii U on your Nintendo account?
Mario Kart, the original
Metroid.
Mario Kart, Super Metroid.
Let's go with Super Metroid. Say they give you Super Metroid for a month, and you're like, oh, sweet, cool, I can play this again. And then after a month, they take it away, and then you find out you got to buy it again. I really hope that those purchases that you made prior are going to carry over to this, because that would piss me off. If they're like, here's Super Metroid, you're like, oh, hey, I already bought this. After a month, I'm sure it'll be mine, but then you got to buy it again. Mm-hmm. We didn't get clarification on that, and I would really like to know how that's going to play out. Instead of talking about 1-2 Switch for 40 minutes, they probably could have talked about this a little more. Now, Frankie, I know you like grabbing all those games on PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold, Live Gold when those games become available, especially the backwards compatibility. I know you like to add those to your library. So, hey, I can go back and play this. What are your thoughts on Nintendo's practice here? You get a game for a month, and sure, these are games, very old games, NES, SNES. You get it for a month, and then they take it away. But if you want to keep playing it, you can buy it.
I don't understand how this is the model they came up with. I'm just totally lost on this. So you're telling me that you're going to give me a game that costs $5 to $10 that is decades old now, and I can only play it for a month. So if Final Fantasy goes up on there and I start playing it at the end of the month and it wants me to buy it and I'm halfway through the game and I decide I'll buy it, what happens to my save data? Am I re-downloading the game?
That's a good question. It says after a month you need to buy it to continue playing. So it doesn't explain if your save is saved, but that's a great question too. That's a long game to be playing.
On previous Virtual Console games on the previous systems and even the 3DS, the save data is separate from the game itself. So it creates a small file for save data, and then the game itself is on a separate file. So your save data should be safe. I imagine it's going to be the same way on the Switch.
Can you access that across platforms if you have a save?
You'd need a cloud for that.
Right, which Nintendo not talking about at this point.
They don't have an Ethernet port on their system. What is the internet even?
Hey, we got 40 days. Don't worry, Reggie's got a lot to talk about because obviously the presentation wasn't a big enough spot to talk about this. But when asked about the Nintendo Switch online service, Reggie's had this to say: we need to offer both to consumers as well as to developers a more robust set of opportunities from an online perspective. And that's what we're looking to do with the Nintendo Switch online services. So that's the basis of the online services. Now let's talk about some of the stuff that you can do. Obviously, this is their new service. Obviously, it'll have the ability to invite friends to play games. Obviously, there'll be a lobby. I mean, this is a given. This is 2017. This thing costs just as much as an Xbox One and a PlayStation 4. Surely I can turn on my Nintendo Switch, go right into the menu on the controller or on the screen, and say, hey, I want to play a Ben, Frankie, and Bender. I'm going to invite them into this game and just start playing. It's got to be as simple as that, right?
Our new dedicated smart device app will connect to Nintendo Switch and let you invite your friends to play online, set play appointments, and chat with friends during online matches and compatible games, all from your smart device. A free, limited version of this app will be available for download in summer 2017.
So I can't
system launch in March.
Sure does.
So you're telling me between March and summer, I can't jump into do any of these games even have online multiplayer?
Doesn't
Mario will.
Kart 8?
In
Mario
April.
Kart?
Yep.
So I can't jump. I can't create a lobby and play with you guys in April.
Doesn't sound like it.
Let's be positive. We're going to stay strong. Here's what you can do with the smartphone app. These are the details. Like Ben mentioned, invite friends to play online, set play appointments, chat with friends during online matches. Free limited version of the app will be available this summer. Full release planned for fall. When asked why voice chat is tied to a mobile app, Reggie had this to say. This is good. Yeah, this is great. We want to reinforce the capability to take your experience with you on the go. The ability to do matchmaking, voice chat through your phone. It's a hell of a lot more convenient than having a gamer headset stuck into your backpack trying to do that. That's why we're doing it the way we are. We see the convenience. We see the ease of delivery. We think it's going to lead to a better experience.
Nope, you're wrong, Reggie.
Bender, go ahead.
Sorry, let me just hop in here for 1 second. This is where Nintendo starts to lose people because they do stuff like this. They spent a lot of that press conference and a lot of time after that explaining to us that this is their new home console. This is their new home console that just happens to have the gimmick where you can take it on the go with you.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the games and the type of experience they're trying to have, they want to position this as a home console for you. But then when it comes to the online features and the internet stuff, now they want to start to tell us, well, this is a portable system, so we want to do it with portability in mind. So you're going to do things through your smartphone. Like, that doesn't add up. So if it's either you're going to if they're going to position it as a home console, it should have home console features. It should not be going through your smartphone app. So they mix their message up there with that.
Benner, I want to ask you. You're taking your Switch on the go. What's more of a convenience for you? You take those headphones that have a built-in mic, and you plug it into your Switch, and you log into Wi-Fi, and you play a game and you talk to your friends on it. Or is it easier for you to take your headphones, plug it into your phone, open the app to talk to people, but then my question is, how do you hear the game? If you have headphones in your ears, or at least one, that's going to take away from the experience, is it not? Especially if you're at home. If you're at home playing multiplayer and you got a surround sound system, okay? You got surround sound, and you're popping this into your phone, and you have an earphone or a headset in your ear. That's going to take away from the game audio. It's going to block some of it out. Bender, what's more convenient for you? Just plug it into the damn controller to chat, or plugging it into your cell phone and possibly losing out some audio from the game?
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a weird decision, which I actually didn't even think about that aspect of it until you said that just now. Like the because I was thinking, I don't know, I'll try it out, but it's like, yeah, you're right. If you're listening to the audio, somebody talking on your earphones, and you can't plug it into the system, I mean, you're not going to be hearing the game audio. So yeah, that's definitely not cool.
That app has to sync up with your game for that reason, right? I mean, they can't make something where you can't hear the game, right? Because you're talking on your phone. Like that can't. This app has to sync with the game. I would hope that the app syncs with the game so you can hear it through your headphones at the very least.
I would
Okay,
hope so. Yeah.
And then imagine this setup. Imagine this setup. I don't even know if this system can do this. First of all, is there an audio out jack on the actual Switch device? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if I'm on the go and the person on the plane next to me doesn't want to hear me playing Mario Kart, but I'm on Wi-Fi, if I want to listen to the game through my headphones, I got to do that. But if I also want to talk to somebody, I have to put a headphone earbud under my headphones. So I have wires come. What the hell? You have to stick your an earbud underneath your headset.
No, you're
Wow.
not supposed to carry a headset. What are you doing?
Super convenient. I'm sorry, that's a terrible idea.
I mean, unless somehow the Switch beams the audio to your phone and goes to the headphones, but then you have to deal with it's going to probably be some latency issues, and audio is probably going to be behind the game or something. I don't know. I don't know how it would work.
Nobody does, and that's a problem.
So they're going to charge you for this?
Oh yeah, this isn't free, dude. This isn't free. You can only use the app and all that stuff if you pay for the Nintendo Online services.
That's why there has to be more to this, man. There has to be more to this if this is going to be a paid service.
They have 40 days to unfuck everything they've done with the online services. I'm really sorry, but that is terrible. I mean, think about all that stuff with wires and earbuds, and if you want to listen to the game audio out through another pair of headphones, I don't even want to talk about it, dude. That's going to piss me off.
Which one of those 40 days is where they unveil the achievement system? That's in there too, right?
Dude, I got to
One of
believe
those-
that's dead.
One of those 40 days?
I got to believe
No?
that dream is dead.
That's unreal, man.
Yeah, you don't even have party chat. You think you can get achievements.
Yeah, obviously we're asking for a bit too much. But let's talk about some of the services that are available to non-subscribers. Obviously, you don't get the voice app. You don't get the deals. You don't get to lose a game after a month. I don't even know if that's a perk. Is that a perk? That's probably that's a bonus. That's a bonus if you don't sign up. You don't lose any games. So that's good. But services that are available to non-subscribers, you still get access to the Nintendo eShop. You can still register and manage your friends. You can share screenshots to show social media, and you can also have access to Nintendo Switch parental controls. Why would that even be I don't even know why they have that listed. I should be able to access parental controls. I mean, that shouldn't even be a feature. That's just, 101 for,
But
I don't know.
by the way, that's probably one of the things that they did really well. Like the parental control app on this thing is really cool.
Mhm.
I don't know if you watched the video for it, but they've got some really cool features in there. Like you can track what your kids are playing, how much time they're spending on there. You can set time limits for how long they can play and restrict content. Like it's a really, really feature-rich system, and that's one of the things that they've done really well with the Switch. So parents are gonna really be able to monitor what their kids are playing and how much they're playing. It's pretty cool.
Okay. I guess, silver lining.
Silver lining.
There's a couple silver linings here. So now that we've talked about the online service, let's talk about some of the games that are coming later this year. There are some actually pretty interesting titles that were mentioned, but again, we don't have any dates on these. And some of these, we're not even sure if these things are going to hit 2017. Boys, you've mentioned a couple. Xenoblade 2. I mean, you mentioned that Xenoblade Chronicles X, that came out, December 2015?
Just over a year ago.
And
I find it very hard to believe, and they've said this is a 2017 title. I find it very hard to believe that they could make another Xenoblade already in less than 2 years. But maybe they can. I don't know. I don't know how these games are developed, but they're gigantic games with a lot that goes into them. So unless they're doing multiple teams at Monolith, I don't know what their studio situation is like. But that seems very, very quick on the turnaround for Xenoblade there.
Bender, I know you love Xenoblade Chronicles X. How excited were you to see Xenoblade 2 is coming to the Switch at some point? possibly 2017. I thought the trailer looked really good. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was super excited about that. That's probably one of my favorite things I saw in that whole presentation. Yeah, the Xenoblade games are great. Really need to finish them. I haven't finished the original and I haven't finished X, so I need to go back and finish those. But yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I'm definitely down for it. Absolutely.
Frankie, I know you have some interest in Xenoblade as well. In fact, you were on the fence about reserving a Nintendo Switch, and you mentioned that one of the titles that you would wait for outside of Super Mario Odyssey was Xenoblade 2. What are your thoughts on Xenoblade 2 and what you saw in that trailer?
For what they showed, that game looks incredible. I have no idea like how far along this thing is or what exactly it is. It's listed as Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is actually apparently in their 2017 slate of games.
Yeah, it's Xenoblade 2 in Japan. When they brought it over here, it became Chronicles for whatever reason.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why it says Xenoblade 2 there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. We also got to see Super Mario Odyssey, which looks like it's taking on a very open world look. We got to see Mario in the middle of a city with humans. So that was interesting. Boyce, I want to start with you. I know Mario is like the one you're looking for. What were your initial impressions of that Super Mario Odyssey trailer?
Thought it looked like a lot of fun. We saw Miyamoto. I think he was in the treehouse after that, talking about how this is an extension of the of their more explorative, like more open world Mario games, Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. This is more along the lines of those games. So that's really exciting. Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine are probably two of the best games, best Mario games for sure, but they're also some of the best games of all time. So to hear that Odyssey is going to follow along that path is really exciting. And we thought as much when we saw some of the initial footage of it, started to hear the rumblings that this game was being created. So it's very weird. It sounds like the plot to the first Smurfs movie, where Mario is apparently coming into the real world. It seems. So this is going to be a strange and kooky game, which is nothing new from Nintendo, but it looks awesome. The environments look vast. They look varied. We saw everything from a jungle to New Donk City, to like a western, Wild West type of place, to a colorful, whatever that thing was that we were looking at. But it was a lot of different environments. Looked like a lot of fun. Looks like they're gonna have some cool mechanics with the hat. So I mean, what more can you say about Mario? I mean, there's no doubt this is going to be a fantastic game when it comes out. There's never been a Mario that wasn't, so I don't think this one will be any different. So really exciting to see Odyssey. It's cool that it's coming out this year. Would have been nice to have it for launch or shortly thereafter, but holiday this is something that they're going to be able to bundle with systems and just move them out the door quickly this holiday season. So that's going to work out great for them.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Super Mario Odyssey. I loved Mario 64. I like this open world take on it with the 3D gameplay. Like you, I think everything about it looked really, really good. That's probably the game that I would have held out for had Zelda not come out at launch. I would have waited for Mario simply because I think Mario is my favorite game out of those two. No offense, Bender, I know you love your Zelda, but Mario Odyssey looked really, really good to me too. I thought that looked really, really fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I think that's a strong game to have in the fall during that holiday rush. Ben, I want to come back to you really quick. We saw Splatoon 2. I know you enjoyed Splatoon 1. What were your thoughts on the trailer that we saw for Splatoon 2?
It looks pretty cool. Looked interesting. I'm not sure what all is new about it. I didn't notice anything specific new about it when I first watched it, but I watched the trailer the second time, and I noticed that they were doing these like dodge rolls to avoid damage, which I don't think you could do in the first one. So I think that's a new. So it looks like they're giving you some new moves, and I'm sure there's going to be new weapons, new hairstyles and clothes and all that stuff too. Hopefully there'll be a new single player campaign as well, because I liked the single player thing on the original Splatoon. I thought it was cool.
There's a new single player campaign.
Is there? Awesome.
So confirmed.
Good.
Oh, there you go.
Good to know that. I didn't know. But yeah, Splatoon 2 is looks like a lot of fun. I'm sure that it'll sell a lot of copies. The first one did pretty well, even though it was on the Wii U. It sold pretty well. So yeah, here's hoping that'll do pretty well.
You're right about that. It squid do very well.
Ha ha!
Yeah,
Get
I
out.
used it. Oh,
Disconnecting.
Yeah. Dude, how do you mute your mic?
you can't. I'm in charge. I'm in charge of all the muting on here. Sorry, guys.
Damn
Frankie, I know you
Dude,
had a. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that game looks indistinguishable from the first one for me. Like looking at it, looks like the exact same game.
I didn't see anything where I was like, oh man, that looks a lot better. I was like, oh, it's. Honestly, I thought when they were showing, I was like, this is just a remaster. This is just a boosted version for the Switch. Cool. When I seen they threw the 2 next, I was like, oh, I guess that's a way to pump out sales. Frankie, Frankie, I know you had a passing interest in Splatoon when that first came out. Any interest in Splatoon 2?
I don't think so. I didn't hate Splatoon, but I also didn't get into it at all. Its humor was just lost on me because it was bad. But the only thing I liked about it was actually like you could you paint like your way up to this high point, you jump off, and then you turn into a squid, and you land. It's like bloop. Like I liked that. But I don't know, man. The single player was pretty cool. Like there were a lot of really interesting like ways to do boss fights that I thought they did pretty well. But that's also like I didn't feel like it was anything special enough that I'm going to come back for a second one.
Right.
And I think it was when they were showing that they started talking about like gyro controls again, and that was garbage because they forced you to do the tutorial with that. If they start doing that junk again, I'm already probably not going to pick up Splatoon 2, but if anything that's even like remotely in there to force you to try it out at least, I'm like, nah, I'm good. We went through this already.
You could change it right after, though. You could turn it off.
I don't care. I don't ever want to do that again.
Ever. We also got to see ARMS, which is a strange-looking game that requires way too much effort physically. You're throwing punches, and in the game you have extendable arms. You look like Inspector Gadget, just saying "Go Gadget Arm," and you can do different maneuvers by gestures with your hands, like put a hook on it. You can dodge with your hands, and it's just I was sweating just watching. I was like, man, I'd drop dead playing that game. So,
a slight movement of my wrist. It's too much effort.
That's a lot. Okay, that's a
The
lot.
fight lights out all over again.
Dude, that was terrible.
Dude, this is one of those kind of games where it's like it's cool to play for a couple minutes, but then like the novelty wears off and that's it. It's the same thing with 1-2 Switch. I think that's something where you'll fire it up for 5 minutes. You play with somebody you got over, or play with a family member. Maybe you pull it out at a family gathering or something. But other than that, like you're never gonna play that game.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, the one game on 1-2 Switch, the mini game where you eat as fast as you can.
Oh yeah, that looks like a good time.
Dude, I wonder if like that's good for dieting. Like if you see on the screen you're eating a bunch of subs, and in your mind like, man, I am full, and then you just don't eat. Does it work like that? You think it works like that?
It'll work like that for you because you'll accidentally eat the Joy-Con controller.
Oh,
and then you're out $80.
$80. Well, hopefully I just eat one because then it's only $50. Thank God.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be an expensive.
You should probably just get a $5 sub instead.
That's an expensive cold cut trio right there. So, we got to see a little trailer for Fire Emblem Warriors. We didn't see any gameplay. Speaking of Fire Emblem Warriors, there will actually be is it a Treehouse this week?
It's a direct.
A Nintendo Direct for Fire Emblem Warriors. That is this Wednesday, January 18th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll be jumping into Fire Emblem Warriors. We'll learn more about that game, but that is coming out in sometime in 2017. We don't have a release date on that.
Dude, what I want to know is what Fire Emblem fan was like, man, I really hope they make this into a Dynasty Warriors game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
who in the hell wants this? Is one of those Dynasty Warriors games.
Yeah,
it's one of their like they did. Yeah, it's like what they did with Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, what Zelda fan said
exactly.
that they wanted the Dynasty Warriors game.
Exactly.
Oh, see, I thought this
Fire Emblem.
I thought
That's
this
like
was
so far.
I thought this was a traditional Fire Emblem game. I didn't realize that this was. Oh God!
No, dude.
Nope.
No, it's going to be one of those
Not
hack
even
and
close.
slash Dynasty Warriors games.
Yep.
Yeah.
With Fire Emblem characters.
That look on your face was exactly my deflated excitement face for it too.
Man. That's
It's like,
terrible.
oh, it's that.
Well, did you perk up to this, Frankie? Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is coming to the Switch. Oh,
Nope,
he's already
got it
got
on my shelf.
That's right. It's another one of those games that we've already got. But you know what's strange is I don't understand why this isn't a launch title because, I mean, really, how hard is it to port this thing? Minecraft Story Mode.
Neither is regular Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
How is Mario Kart 8 not a launch title?
That's what I didn't get either.
You know? It's like, how are these Wii U ports not launch titles? I don't get that.
Man, there's a lot of power under the hood they got to optimize, man.
Probably because if those were launch titles, they'd have nothing until the holiday season.
You're not wrong.
He's not wrong. A couple other games that we saw. We saw Skyrim. That is confirmed for the Switch. Like Ben mentioned earlier, we're not sure. We're pretty sure this isn't the PS4, Xbox One port.
It doesn't say Skyrim HD.
It doesn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It just says Skyrim.
PS3 360 port.
Oh, boy. Because, I mean, we were watching that during the stream, and we were watching that trailer, and the resolution, or I'm sorry, the detail just wasn't on par with what we've seen on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. Some of those details were very minimal. So I'm curious to see what version of this we're getting, how well it runs. I've always said I would love the idea of taking Skyrim on the go if there was an achievement system on the Nintendo, but it's kind of a killer. And then, boys, we didn't think it was possible, but another version of Street Fighter 2 is on its way to the Nintendo Switch. We have Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers.
Yeah, which once again, this is a game that's 30 years old or whatever. This is the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter this year. Ultra Street Fighter 2 looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Super Turbo. God, I can't even say it anymore. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. Like, it looks like that game, but with Violent Ken and Evil Ryu are in there as a cast of characters. I was trying to dig to see if this is going to be coming to other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't said one way or another, but I feel like this game's going to migrate over to the Xbox and PS4 at some point, so I'll wait for it there.
Mm-hmm.
Just to go back to Skyrim for a minute too, man. I wanted to ask you, like, who is this game for? Like, are you the people that have bought Skyrim and played it on the PS3 or the Xbox 360 and have played it on a PC, have played it on the PS4, have played it on the Xbox One? Like, are they really going to buy a Switch for Skyrim? Like, who is the audience for this game? When you come out in a press conference and you hammer us with 1-2 Switch and ARMS and all of these casual experiences, and then you trot out Skyrim, like, who's this marketed to?
I would almost guess that this isn't marketed at anybody. I think this is a message that they're trying to send. They're trying to say, hey, look, this thing can support big third-party titles. And granted, this game is older, but it's still
From 6 years ago.
Right, but it's still a big title. It's still a big game to create, and it probably takes a lot to get it onto a device like this. So I can't help but wonder if, yes, there will be people that'll buy this game for the Switch because, like I said, Skyrim on the go is appealing to me anyways, and I'm sure there's some people that like the idea of having a very hardcore RPG to take on the go with you, like Skyrim. But I can't help but wonder if this is just one of those, because, we didn't see a whole lot of third-party support. We heard about third-party developers who are trying to come up with ideas for the Switch. Like you said, they basically acknowledge that the Switch exists, and that's all we saw. And outside of FIFA, I would say Skyrim is the biggest third-party game that we saw in this presentation. And I think that's just a message that Nintendo's trying to say, like, hey, look, the Wii U lost its support. We have the support of third-party. Whether or not they're able to sustain that support remains to be seen. But I think Skyrim is just kind of a message they're trying to send to consumers, saying, look, this thing can run big third-party titles even if it's 6 years old.
I could see that. I just this is one of the main things that concerns me is stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the third party support we're seeing is all old games.
Mm-hmm.
They're games that have been on other platforms. They're games either in Skyrim that are 5 or 6 years old. They're Rayman from 4 years ago. Like, we're seeing that, and that's why I get that Wii U feeling again with the third party support, because they did this on the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
They trotted out all these old third-party games, and we're like, look, we've got third-party support in our system, and then we never saw anything from any of those developers again.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we're seeing the same thing with the Switch here, because the reality is they can't put their third-party games on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 1-to-1 ratio with the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PC. Like, it doesn't match up. So it's very difficult for them to do that unless they specifically make a game for the platform. And they didn't really show us any exclusive third-party games. We saw a Shin Megami Tensei in there from Atlus. We saw some possibly a new No More Heroes game from Suda. So there was a few things, but it was all ideas and gestating thoughts and some frankly niche titles. Like, we didn't see anything that EA is going to be watching how that FIFA game sells.
Oh yeah.
if that doesn't sell good, they're probably gonna back out. They're not gonna put Madden or any of their sports games on there, which is gonna be a huge loss. So I just
What a shame.
Frankie's
yeah,
crushed.
it won't be a huge loss for Frankie, but it'll be a huge loss for the longevity of the system.
This is true.
So,
And see, I would say the third-party support that they did show, yes, they're older. I still think the bigger concern was the fact that this was the big press conference for this thing, and you had EA on there talking FIFA, shocking nobody. And then you have Suda51 and Grasshopper up there talking about an idea they have for a game. And then Sega comes out, same thing. Yeah, we have ideas. We just don't have anything to show. So if Sega and Suda are there with nothing to show, what the hell is Activision and all these major publishers? You had EA there talking FIFA. Ubisoft with Just Dance. They weren't even there talking about, but that's it. But none of the big third-party publishers were there outside of EA. I think that's more telling than anything. Yeah, seeing these older third-party titles, yeah, that's concerning. But the fact that this was their big presentation, and they're there with FIFA, man, I'm scared. I am very concerned with third-party support here. Very concerned with that. Moving along, a couple things that happened after the press conference. Got a couple things to touch on. First of all, Breath of the Wild the size of this download is 13.4 gigs, which isn't bad compared to Xbox One, PlayStation 4 downloads. This is much smaller, much more manageable. Regarding Miiverse and Street Pass, Nintendo of America Assistant Manager of Public Relations David Young talked about the future of Miiverse and Street Pass and confirmed that the Switch won't support either. He had this to say: I can answer that we're not going to use Miiverse for Nintendo Switch. Bender, did you ever, were you ever invested in Miiverse, or do you even care if that's not going to make it or no?
Not really. It doesn't. I hardly use it. I posted to it a few times. I'm more surprised about them not having any sort of a Street Pass, because I was sure that was going to be something that they were going to include, because they seem to be a pretty big thing on the 3DS. But I guess that's weird. But okay. I don't know. But no, Miiverse isn't a huge loss to me.
Bender, is that because you were the guy that kept getting banned for drawing dongs? Like, was that you on there?
Dong City concept art.
There you go. Bender, you can come clean with us. You can let us know. It's okay.
They did.
We're all friends here.
They did send me a warning when I put shortpause.com in my description on Miiverse, and they're like, "No, you can't do that. You have to remove it." I was like, Psh, "Okay, whatever."
Savage.
You just rebelled after that.
Start drawing dongs everywhere.
Yeah,
That's hot. We actually got Reggie to comment on the future of Metroid and Mother 3. Reggie called Metroid one of Nintendo's crown jewels. And he's,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
They treat it like one of its crown jewels.
He said Nintendo is committed to that franchise, and he stressed that Nintendo's primary concern is moving the franchise forward. As for Mother 3, that has a different set of complexities, Reggie said. It really isn't a Nintendo-owned franchise. And Reggie also iterated, Nintendo is aware of conversations happening around both the Metroid franchise and Mother 3, and said, let's see where we are a year from now. So, yeah, I can tell you guys love Metroid. You're saying wait a year before we even suggest anything Metroid.
Haven't seen a Metroid in 9 years. The last one we saw was the panned Other M, but it's a crown jewel in the Nintendo stable.
You forgot Federation Force.
And Federation Force, yeah. So crown jewel. What a cry! Crown jewel, my ass. I'm starting to wonder if maybe like just the wool's been pulled over our eyes in terms of Metroid. Like, is this just a franchise that doesn't sell? Like, are we just kidding ourselves here?
Obviously, who bought Federation Force? Nobody. So why would they make another one?
Yeah. But let's go back to the last like real Metroid game, Metroid Prime 3. Like, was that just a critical failure? Like, are we missing something here, or is this just a case of Nintendo just doesn't have any ideas for this? I just don't get it, man.
I don't know. I'm not sure how well it sold. I loved Prime 3. I thought it was an awesome game. I don't.
Yeah, like what gamer doesn't love Metroid? Everybody loves Metroid.
I've never heard of anyone bad mouthing that series. So I don't know.
Of course, everyone loves it. Reggie said it's a crown jewel, so obviously, it's something they care about and love very much.
Dude, Brent, all they have to do, if they just did like a sequel to Super Metroid, a 2D like awesome Metroidvania game,
Mm-hmm.
like people would love that. People would eat that up. Put it on the eShop for $15. It would sell like gangbusters. Even something like that we can't get.
It's called Axiom Verge.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's my favorite thing about last year for the 30th anniversary of Metroid. They celebrated by releasing Axiom Verge on their platform. So, bravo. Bravo, Nintendo.
Wow. All right, so yeah, that was our thoughts. That was kind of a breakdown of everything we heard of the Nintendo Switch. Guys, I just want to get your final thoughts on the Switch presentation, what to expect on March 3rd, and your overall impressions of the Nintendo Switch. I want to start with Frankie first. Overall thoughts on the Nintendo Switch and where we're going with this thing.
So in terms of the conference, and this is maybe a backhanded compliment, but I think for a system reveal event, like everything that they had there was acceptable for a system reveal event. Now, the fact that your system comes out in less than 2 months, that's not the conference you should have had. I look at this as like when the PlayStation unveiled the PlayStation 4, they had that February event before a full out reveal later on. They had guys like Jonathan Blow and the infamous guys. You had all these concept trailers. You had them talking about ideas, and that's what you had here. You had Suit up there talking about a new No More Heroes. That's awesome. I like that series. Whatever Sega plans on doing, please port Bayonetta 2. Just saying. So I mean, in terms of like actual content for like that, what a reveal event, I thought for that type of event, what was there was pretty much acceptable. I'm extremely disappointed that the thing that seemed to kind of stay hidden and a surprise was really the gimmick of all the motion control crap that these Joy-Cons are capable of. That sucks, especially since the amount of time they spent talking about it. I really was hoping that this would not be another Wii. And that we heard before, like they're trying to distance themselves from the Wii, and then you have a whole half hour of, you have HD rumble, so you can feel individual ice cubes and all these different motion sensing things. I'm like, why? Just get away from this junk. We don't want this. So that aspect sucked. A little concerned about the network thing. I don't want to pay 3 subscription fees. If you're not even letting me keep a game from 1985 that I probably already bought twice by now on other different Nintendo platforms, I don't know what I'm paying for. I don't think discounts are enough of a reason for me to pay $50 for a year. Granted, I do that with Plus, but also I still get a bunch of games that I probably wasn't going to buy anytime soon anyways. But yeah, as far as the conference goes, whatever. But in terms of launch day, at first I was really negative about it. I want to play Zelda, but it's coming out the same week as Horizon Zero Dawn. So that one kind of takes point for me. I do enjoy Zelda, but like Boyce, I'm much more in the Mario camp. That's where my love for Nintendo started. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on. Zelda's going to be a really long game. I hope we can play, the battle mode of Mario Kart together. That would be really nice, assuming it works somehow. But I don't know. I mean, if the virtual console thing ends up being strong, I could see myself investing a lot of time there until Mario and Xenoblade and Redout come out. So I'm not too bummed about it. At the end of the day, I'm going to buy the system at some point because Nintendo's track record seems to be launch year, it's kind of shaky. You have all these ports of older games. You get some new stuff. But then, as the years go by, I feel like they end up with a lot of quality titles. So at some point in time, I know I'm going to buy a Switch anyways, so if I have one on day one for Zelda, that's totally fine. But I mean, as far as looking into the future, like I said, at some point in time, Nintendo's going to hit their stride with that system, and they're going to have a lot of quality games that make it worth owning. Maybe that new Metroid that Bender wants will eventually come. I hope it does. I think it's a great series. So I mean, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. I think at some point Nintendo's going to find some way to make this thing appealing, as long as they don't lean too hard on all the stupid gimmicks and understand that there are gamers out there like us who we want Zelda, we want to play with our Pro Controller, we don't want to be waggling little Joy-Cons around as swords, we don't want to do any of that crap. Just let us play our actual kind of hardcore games. And
right.
bring them, please. Port Bayonetta 2, please. That's the only thing I'm wanting really bad right now, outside of a Xenoblade Chronicles export. Is Bayonetta 2 is fantastic. It obviously underperformed on the Wii U. Please bring it to the Switch.
There, you heard it here first. I'm gonna go to Ben because he looks like he's pumped to close out the the Nintendo Switch section. Ben, give me your overall thoughts on what we saw from the presentation, what to expect on March 3rd, and the future of the Switch.
Man, I'm gonna try to gather my thoughts here and relay this in a comprehensive and understandable way. But Nintendo just doesn't get it, man. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. The conference was terrible for a core gamer like myself and like the rest of us are here. It was a terrible conference. You know, we saw some cool stuff on there. Zelda by far I thought took the cake in the show. The trailer that they showed for that was awesome. It's like a 4-minute epic trailer that just really made that game look kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
So Breath of the Wild definitely was the star of the show. It was nice to see Mario on there. Can't wait to see more of that. Obviously, Odyssey is going to be fantastic. But I really wanted to believe this was going to be a new look for Nintendo. Like this was going to be Nintendo turning the corner. But they just don't get it.
Right.
Like people have been clamoring for basic things like online functionality, achievement systems, Metroid games, and they've been clamoring for people to get away from the motion controls and the Wiis and the gimmicks and all this stuff. And we see this first trailer in October, and they've got all these millennials and people that are playing regular games and core games on this system. And we were all excited, like, all right, cool. The gimmick for this system is you can take it out of a dock and carry it with you on the go. Awesome. That sounds like a cool gimmick. Not something where, you know, it's going to be some weird stuff. It's going to be easy to develop games for. It's going to be like a traditional system that you can take on the go. But, you know, now we see all of the motion stuff. At least half of that conference was spent on motion games and like casual games. Once again, for a core gamer, seeing 1-2 switch and arms, you know, those look like something that you could have fun with for maybe a few minutes. But the luster is going to wear off quickly on those games. Like, after you milk that cow for the first time, like, are you really going to go back and milk that cow again? Are you really going to try and eat that sub again? Like, is that an experience that you want to have over and over and over? No, it's something you're going to want to pull out when the family's over. You have fun with that for a minute, and then you move on, and you never play it again, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they spent all their time on that, and it was the same old Nintendo again. The 5 games at launch, the piss-poor third-party support, the just refusal to just get with the times and give the people what they want. I mean, they already have the hardcore Nintendo fans. They already have them.
Mm-hmm.
Bender's a hardcore Nintendo fan. He's going to buy the Switch regardless of what they show. Kimishima could have came out there and be like, hey, the Switch is out on March 3rd. Thank you. That's the end of the night. And Bender would have been like, cool, I'm buying it. and they already have all of those people. Those 12 million people that bought the Wii U, they already have them for the Switch.
Right.
What they need to do, they need to expand that audience. And them going back to the well and trying to get the casual market, once again, 10 years after the Wii, when that ship has sailed, man. The casual market's on the iPhones and the iPads and on mobile games and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think they're going to catch that lightning in a bottle again. That was for that moment in time, and that was that. I don't think that's going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I find that very hard to believe. So for them to go back and try to do that again, instead of speaking to the core gamers that support all of these platforms, core gamers have bought, 80 million units between the PS4 and the Xbox One?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are the people that sustain the ecosystem of your system. They buy your games. They buy your services. They get on the eShop and buy games. And they're just not speaking to them. They're not speaking to me anymore. And it's sad. Because, like I said, I grew up with Nintendo. I really want to come back to a Nintendo platform and play some of the things that I love to play. But I'm not getting the experience that I want anymore. We've been asking for an achievement system for 10 years now. Why are they ignoring that? I don't get it. everybody's clamoring for an achievement system. Every other platform out there has one. Why can't you make an achievement system for your games? Why can't you tell us about the virtual console? Why do you wait 2 months before the system comes out, and then you still leave us with all of these unanswered questions, and we still don't know what to think of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the majority of the stuff we saw at the conference was stuff that we had heard previously, and it's not Nintendo's fault that some of this stuff leaked out or whatever, but we knew a lot of this stuff. We wanted to know some of the other stuff, and now we've got to wait for the 40 days leading up to the system and decide whether or not what Nintendo's doing is acceptable. You know, I still want to know about the eShop. Like, is this going to be revamped? Is this going to be something that's not just going to be a repository for shovelware? Like, are we going to get some, like, quality titles? Are they really going to invest in the downloadable side of this thing, especially for this platform that's handheld? You can carry it with you wherever you go. Like, we don't know, like Frankie was saying about the virtual console. I mean, people, this is what speaks to the core gamer, the virtual console.
Mm-hmm.
It's guys like me that grew up on Nintendo and have the ability to go back and play NES and SNES games, the GameCube, get Super Mario Sunshine on there. That would be freaking awesome. We heard nothing about any of this stuff. Now we have to wait to hear about the virtual console. You know, we're supposed to pay for online features that supposedly are going to be used through our phone. We're going to get an old game that we have to give back. It's like, what are we paying for? So they trotted that out half-ass. I wish they wouldn't have said anything about it other than what they said about it. Like, they should have just came and had a Nintendo Direct or something where they really dug in depth into what their online infrastructure is going to be for the system. Instead, they gave us what they gave us, and now we're all sitting here like, what? Like, is this what we're supposed to pay for? So, I know I'm rambling on here, and I'm just kind of beating around the bush, but I'm torn on whether or not I even want the Switch, because I like I said, I want to get back to Nintendo. I'd like to play some of these franchises that I love, but I also feel like I don't want to support this because this is not the system I want, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is, from what I've seen so far, this is not what I want from not just a Nintendo platform, but a video game platform. Like, do I want to go out there and support this when this is not really what I'm looking for? So I'm torn right now, and I have my pre-order in, so I'll be able to kind of gestate on that and think about it. But as we stand right now, I'm concerned about the future of the Switch, and I really wonder at this point if Nintendo would be better served to just be a third-party company. I mean, with the Switch, there's the motion gimmicks and all that crap. We can take it or leave it, and a lot of that motion stuff you can do on other platforms like the Move or something like that. But to play like Zelda or Mario, that game would play just as good or better on a PS4 and Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people want from Nintendo at this point. It's like, we want the Mario games, we want the Zelda games. It's like, at this point, I don't know if they're going to keep kind of swinging and missing with the hardware. Like, at this point, I might just rather see them go third party, and then we can all just play their games. They'd be the biggest third party publisher out there. Everybody would be able to enjoy their games, and they could just make awesome games, which is what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I don't want to see a world where that has to be the case. I like Nintendo making hardware. I like Nintendo being a force. They're the founding fathers of video games,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So it hurts me to see them like this. But I'm just very, very leery about their future right now, about the future of the Switch. And I have way more questions than I have answers at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really conflicted about where I'm at with the Switch.
Gotcha. Myself, I think I said this on Twitter. This might be the least most enthusiastic console pre-order I've ever done. Like, I would say I'm 90% doing this so I can cover this for the site and talk to our listeners about this system. 10% excited for what we saw, based on what we saw and what we know. In terms of, like, my enthusiasm. I really want this system to be great. I really do. I want it to be a great system. I want to play this thing when I'm not at home. I want to play this thing when I'm going. I want to play this thing at all times. But right now, with the third party support or lack thereof, the weak launch lineup, the accessory pricing, the online service, I mean, just all of this stuff is not what I expect from hardware in 2017. So I have it pre-ordered. I'm not thrilled about it in terms from a gaming perspective. I am happy that I'll be able to cover it for the site, but that's about the extent of my excitement. So It is what it is. I want to go to Bender. Last time, Bender saved this segment. Please bring a positive aspect to this. Your thoughts on the Switch and the future of it and what we saw.
Well, I'm not gonna lie and say that everything's hunky dory, but I mean the conference was bittersweet. There's things there's some things that I'm excited about, but there were some things that I wish they would have shown, or things that they did show that I didn't really get excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I'm going to be buying a Switch day one. I'm going to be playing Zelda on it. I'm hoping that they do give us more as far as game releases and stuff. I don't know why they would hold back the news of any launch titles at this point. I mean, when Ben was talking about that one playing 1-2 Switch and milking a cow, I was thinking that was kind of could be a good analogy. Actually, they're still milking the motion control cow from the Wii days.
Oh, yeah.
I felt they hit that motion control stuff pretty hard in the conference, and that was concerning to me as well, because I was like Frankie was saying, I was hoping they were going to kind of get away from that a little bit, but
Right.
It seems like they're still really emphasizing that. I'm not planning on playing a lot of motion control games as long as they give me the option to play a traditional way, I probably will.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get a pro controller for this thing. Anytime I'm at home, I'm going to be using the pro controller, most likely.
Right.
And then when I'm on the go, I'm going to be playing it probably, with the Joy-Cons connected to the screen and playing it that way, like a traditional handheld. So I don't know. The online infrastructure, the online service thing sounds weird as well. The one game at a time, and you only get it for a month, and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way that could soften the blow of that is if by some miracle they do reveal that your previous purchases will carry over as far as the virtual console games. I mean, that would be nice, but I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up for that. But overall, I'm still optimistic about the Switch. I do think it's going to be a cool system. Whether or not it does well for Nintendo remains to be seen. It does concern me that it's going to fail again like the Wii U did, but
Right.
I really hope that doesn't happen. But I'm all in with it. I want to play it. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings for the system, and we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. It's bittersweet.
Before we go to break, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this quick roundtable. I was curious. We were talking about the online services. We know that PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live are, what, 50 and 60 or 60 and 60 right now? Is that how much they cost?
Yeah,
Quick
they're 60.
Quick thought. I just want you guys' guess. How much is this online service going to cost? Do you think this is, based on the stuff that we know and the stuff that we have to do to use these online services, Benner, how much do you think, what do you think is the max that they should charge for this based on what you're getting and what you have to deal with?
It better not be too expensive, because it's not going to be worth it. I mean, obviously, if they're going to make you pay for it to even play online at all, I mean, you're going to be forced to pay for it. But I don't know, man. PS Plus is what, $60 a year or something, and you have to have it to play online on PS4.
Yep.
If they do a yearly thing, there's no way they can charge more than that. But I would hope they would be cheaper. I mean, based on what they've shown us so far, I mean, PlayStation Plus, you get dozens of games throughout the year for free that you can play as long as you're subscribed. I mean, for them to have one game that you can play for a month at a time, and then it's going to be a different game the next month, I assume. I don't know. That just doesn't seem like it'd be worth a really high price. So I don't even have a guess, but I just it can't be too expensive.
Dude, I'm going to say right now, anything over $29.99, I'm going to throw up in my soup. I mean, really, it's $29.99 is the max that I would be comfortable paying for what we've heard here. Boys, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the absolute max. That's just to be able to play. I mean, if the online service is just what we talked about and what we know about it right now, It can't be more than $29.99. Even that, it's like, man, what am I paying for at this point? You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're sitting here right now in January. There's 5 games available for the PlayStation 4 on PlayStation Plus right now. 5 games, and they're like newer games.
Mm-hmm.
They're not games from 30 years ago. So,
Well-
just from that aspect. So what, Frankie?
Day of the Tentacle is pretty old.
Well, yeah, this Day of the Tentacle remastered. You sly
Well
bastard.
played, Frankie.
Yeah, so usually they're games of a recent ilk, and not games from like 30 years ago. So even just from that apples to apples comparison, it's like this can't be that much. So I'm with you, man. I guess $29.99, but even then, like, we have to see some more about this to even want to pay that much.
Right.
I mean, it's very, very weird and very just unappealing right now in its current state.
Frankie, your guess?
Honestly, for what you're getting, I think $10 is the sweet spot for this. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, you're talking about a mobile app, so this voice chat network isn't natively running on the system. So if I'm not using that anyways, what am I paying for? But, I mean, looking at it, like, for getting discounts, I mean, that's one of the big things I get for PlayStation Plus. But like I said, I'm also getting, like, literally dozens of free games throughout the year on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at just what they're offering, like just the amount of games coming out, like this has to be stuff for the virtual console. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're going to be looking at, you know, am I getting Super Mario Sunshine? Cool, it's $20, but if you're a Nintendo subscriber, it's $10. Stuff like that, that'll pay for itself over time, and I'm totally cool with that. But I think even at $30, I'm not touching that. There's no way, because I'm not going to be playing a lot of these games online. If I have to run it off my crappy Wi-Fi, or, you know, I know you could buy like a USB adapter to hardwire, but still, I mean, how reliable is that technology realistically?
Right.
You know, so, but, you know, looking at all the price gotcha they're doing elsewhere, I could totally see them charging $30, $40 for this, which,
Yep.
no way in hell am I touching it.
I could see them doing like the full amount.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
like, well,
totally.
These guys are $60. We'll do $60 as well. But the problem with that is, it's like, look at what Nintendo's given us from an online perspective for the last however many years. Like, we have zero confidence right now in their ability to deliver a positive online experience.
Uh-huh.
So the fact that we now have to go into this system and pay for this, they better come with something better than what they've showed us so far, because with their past history and what we've seen of this new system, yeah, it's not very appealing to want to pay for this right now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how they let you pre-order. They show you this stuff, but they don't talk about the pricing on that thing.
Yep.
That's interesting. Get those pre-orders in, see how many people are signing up, wait till launch day, and then shortly after, oh, boom, $60 to play this thing online. They got to announce that price real quick here, dude. Real quick for the online stuff.
Yeah. Plus, what are we even going to be playing online besides Mario Kart? Like, what else is there to play? ARMS?
I guess.
Mario Kart and ARMS? That's what we're paying $60 a year for to play
Splatoon,
online?
brah.
Or whatever it is.
Oh, Splatoon. There you
Splatoon.
go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's $60.
Splatoon and Mario Kart.
Well, that's going to do it for the Nintendo Switch section. We're going to take a quick break. We got some music here from Rual Ethan. We'll be right back. welcome back. Thank you again to Ruel Ethan for providing the music for this podcast. You can find his music on SoundCloud and iTunes. Follow him on Twitter at Ruel Ethan. Thank you very much. We appreciate your music. It's good stuff. All right, guys, so clearly we got the Nintendo Switch presentation out of the way. Let's talk about some good news. We've got some good news this week, right? Let's start with Xbox One. Scalebound's been canceled.
That's a tough one.
That wasn't good news at all.
That was terrible news.
You lied.
Frankie pointed out earlier last week, we were talking about our most anticipated articles, and he pointed out my 2015 article where only one game actually came out on that list, and it was a game that I was jokingly saying, no, it's not coming on. That's Fallout 4. Every other game on that list was delayed, and one turned into a turd, and that was H-Hour. Sure enough, I write my most anticipated article this past weekend. I get it to Boyce on Saturday or Sunday. Boom, Monday. Scalebound's been canceled. Already one casualty on my list. So, obviously, Scalebound was announced at 2013 E3? 2014? 2014. And, we've seen a steady flow of stuff at E3 press conference. We've got to see some gameplay but it's been a while, and there were some concerns. Well, those concerns came to fruition. It's out there now. Scalebound is not being made. The production is stopped. Microsoft and Platinum Games have parted ways. And we've got an assortment of statements here. We'll start with Microsoft first. After careful deliberation, Microsoft Studios has come to the decision to end production for Scalebound. We're working hard to deliver an amazing lineup of games to our fans this year, including Halo Wars 2, Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, and other great experiences. Phil Spencer on Twitter said this: difficult decision. We believe the result is better for Xbox gamers. Still disappointing. I'm confident in 2017, the lineup, that's our focus. I'm not sure I agree with Phil on that statement, saying this is a better result for Xbox gamers. But then again, maybe he's referring to at the state of the game. It's probably best that this isn't coming out. Maybe it was a disaster. No idea. Platinum Games released their statement. This is President Kenichi Sato. Sato? I'm going to go with Kenichi Sato. We are very disappointed things ended up this way, especially since we know many of our fans were looking forward to this game as much as we were. Going forward, we will strive to continue delivering high-quality games to you, starting with Nier Automata in March, and including products like Granblue Fantasy, Project Relink, and Lost Order in the future. We will keep working hard to meet your expectations, and we look forward to your continued support. So they had the very professional statement. But then Hideki Kamiya released a myriad of tweets, and here's what he had to say in these tweets. As you may have already heard, Scalebound has unfortunately been canceled. I'm very sorry to everyone who was looking forward to this game. Sorry to bring you such bad news at the start of the year. All I can do for you is to promise to keep delivering fun games. I'll work extra hard to never have to let you down like this again, so I hope you will keep watching over us in the future. Guys, I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, this is weird. I mean, we don't have any particular reason from either Microsoft or Platinum Games as to what transpired behind the scenes. What was the issue? What was the cause of this? What happened? And I think that's what a lot of people want to know. I mean, these statements are great. They all claim that Scalebound was canceled, but for a game that was shown 3 years ago with a lot of hype behind it, I think we need to know what the hell happened to Scalebound. I mean, this was a massive title. This is along the lines of like Quantum Break in terms of like its hype and getting people excited for it. It's Platinum Games, a legendary developer. And Microsoft had an agreement with them to bring a game about you befriending a dragon and taking on massive beasts. And what we saw in gameplay trailers, I thought looked really, really promising. What the hell happened to this game? Frankie, I want to start with your thoughts on Scalebound being canceled. Obviously, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, so we're not gonna like sit here and tell you guys and girls, this is what happened. We don't know. But Frankie, I want to get your thoughts on the actual cancellation of this game and what your outlook is for 2017 on Xbox One.
Dude, just flat out, this cancellation fucking sucks. This is a game that was initially on my anticipated games list, but then remembering last year, the very first thing Microsoft had to say out of the gate after, the holiday break was, oh, hey, what's up? Scalebound's delayed until next year. So that was the beginning of last year. So, of course, E3 has passed. We saw the co-op gameplay. It was a Gamescom or E3. I don't remember which one, but that game looked like it was coming along pretty well. Games looked really fun. Trailers looked really cool. Everything seemed on the up and up. So I left it off my list just in case it got delayed again and pushed into next year because I could see that happening. So I was extremely pissed when, oh, hey, by the way, it's canceled. Like, outside of Halo Wars 2, which I'm not an RTS fan. I'm getting Halo Wars 2 because it looks like a fun time and something that, I'm hoping pans out like the Banner Saga, where it's not a genre I typically like, but the game blows me away. Mm-hmm. But now that's the only game I plan on buying on Xbox One this year. I could care less about Crackdown. I have no interest in Sea of Thieves. I don't care about State of Decay. I'm not a sim survival fan, so I didn't even care about the first game. So now I'm sitting here like, cool. So I have no Scalebound now. I love Platinum Games. I don't care where they're making a game. I'm gonna have that system. That's why I had a Wii U for as long as I did, because I wanted to play Bayonetta 2. Wonderful 101 is also a good game. So my other problem too is there was an article I think VG247 had posted, and there was a guy talking about how for a while he thought there were 2 Scalebounds in development because you had Microsoft showing the more action-packed, focus of the game, but then all the behind-doors demos were all the the different features the game had, and it was like almost 2 completely different projects. Mm-hmm. So obviously we have no idea what happened, but when you start hearing stuff like that, it's concerning because obviously at some point in time here, there are 2 different visions for this game from both the people funding it and the people making it. So I don't know if this was like Dead Island where those visions clashed and that's where it fell apart. I don't know, but all I know is losing Scalebound is not good for Xbox gamers. Like, this game was high on a lot of radars because, not everyone out there is a Crackdown fan. Not everyone out there is intrigued by Sea of Thieves, especially that crappy showing they had at E3 that completely turned a lot of people off to the game. Mm-hmm. Scalebound was the big Xbox One game that a lot of people were excited about this year, and now it's gone. And we have no explanation. That's the part that sucks. There's no explanation other than, yeah, we're sorry, it got canceled. Right. Stay tuned to the future. Like, is it salvageable? Can this game be, kind of catch a second win like Sleeping Dogs did when it was originally that True Crime Tokyo game? I hope so. I want to play that game. Everything that we saw of it, even if it's more action focused, I don't care. I want to play whatever that game was going to be. It looked like it was going to be a great time. So I don't care if it's Nintendo, Sony, even Activision. I don't care. I just want someone to salvage that game.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It was really disappointing. I mean, I don't know anything about Crackdown 3. I don't know anything about Crackdown 2. I don't even know what types of games these are. So I guess I can't say I'm not interested in them. I just don't know anything about that game. Sea of Thieves, know very little about it. I like the potential is there. I think some parts of it are appealing. But Halo Wars 2, I suck at Halo. And Halo Wars 2 seems like, just it's more of like a niche audience. Like, it's strategy stuff. I mean, not every Halo fan's be like, man, I'm going to go play Halo Wars, because it's nothing like Halo in terms of gameplay. Not everyone likes to sit down and play real-time strategy games. So I can't see Halo Wars 2 cracking the top 10 in NPD, maybe. But it's just like, dude, Scalebound was that was a system seller in my mind. Based on what we've seen, that was a system seller. That's why I was so damn excited for it. So, no, I don't think it's good for gamers in that regard. But like I said, maybe Phil knew what was going on, and he knew that if this thing was getting released, it would be a disaster. And that in itself is good for gamers that it didn't come out. If that's what he meant by it. That's what I'm assuming he meant by it, because nobody in the right mind would say, man, not having this game is good for gamers. No, it's not.
No, they did put out Recore in the state that it was in, so...
That's true, too. Which makes me wonder just how bad this damn game was, if that was the case. Bender, as another Xbox One owner, I know you were excited for Scalebound. What's your take on what happened this week?
Yeah, very, very disappointed in that. Scalebound was a game I was very highly anticipating. It was one of the games that I had in mind when I bought my Xbox One that I was really looking forward to. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what happened. I hope maybe someday we'll learn exactly what went down, but I mean, I imagine it just came down to money.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks. I know it's a business and everything, but still, I mean, it's something that it's a game that a lot of people put a lot of hard work into, and they just wouldn't cancel this. So that's disappointing. And now I don't know what I can really be excited for in 2017 on Xbox, because I mean, I'm not super excited for Sea of Thieves because I don't know what that game is all about yet.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll have Cuphead, which is cool. I want to play
Cuphead.
that, but yeah. So I mean, but there's just not a whole lot now that I can think of. That was one of the biggest games I was looking forward to on that system. So it sucks, but I don't know. Nothing we can do about it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like you guys were saying, hopefully there's some way somehow that someone can come along and scoop that game up and get it finished and release it. But
No, boys, obviously this doesn't affect you too much. You don't own an Xbox One, but I am curious to what your thoughts are on these statements, and if there's anything you can glean from these statements that you find interesting that might give us a look into what might have happened here. Again, we don't know, and we're not going to spend a whole lot of time coming up with conspiracy theories. We're just looking at it from gamers, from our perspective. And, boys, I'd like to get your thoughts on the statements specifically. What can you take from those statements that you think might kind of shine a light on what happened here?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Microsoft's statement is weird because it's basically like they took one sentence and they're like, "Hey, Scalebound's canceled. By the way, look forward to Sea of Thieves and Crackdown and all this other stuff we got coming out next year." So it was a very weird way to say goodbye to this game, so to speak. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you just used it as an advertisement for the rest of your lineup for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much like. Almost like they were happy to just be done with this. Like, all right, this is out of our system. Like, this wasn't going anywhere. We can focus on these other games now. For whatever reason, this projects at Microsoft are having trouble getting off the ground. Scalebound was in development for 4 years. 4 years. Platinum was working on this game. This game has to be close to being in some kind of a finished state, right? I mean, it has to be somewhere near finished. Maybe it's got another year in it. Maybe Microsoft didn't want to commit to it for another year after it was supposed to already be out. I don't know. But it's crazy to me to cancel a game after 4 years. Fable Legends was in beta. That thing was getting ready to come out. They just shuttered that and closed the whole studio.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Coalition went on to make Gears of War, they were Black Tusk Studios. They were working on a whole other game. Shut that game down, moved them on to Gears of War. The Phantom Dust remake. They shut that studio down. Something else is going on with it now. I don't know exactly who's making it or what the hell's going on with it now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's somewhere in Microsoft now. So for whatever reason, outside of the tentpole Gears, Halo, Forza stuff, like they're not getting any of these other projects off the ground. So I don't know if they need to kind of reevaluate how they do things or some of the deals that they're making or whatever it is. But I don't know what's going on with Microsoft and what they're trying to do with their games division, but it's been the same story with them for a while now. They've got these 3 franchises which sell well for them and that they can build games off of, but they're not able to get another franchise off the ground. Quantum Break came out, and that didn't hit the sales that they wanted to see out of it. So, I don't know. I feel like Platinum is probably pretty disappointed, and I'm also curious who owns the IP. There was something people were kind of reading into the way this worked out, where Microsoft was removing all mention of Scalebound, like the actual website is gone and all that kind of stuff. So they've kind of cleaned their hands of everything Scalebound that they were associated with. And people rightly pointed out that there's still stuff up for Fable Legends and some of these other things that they've since closed.
Mm-hmm.
But the Scalebound stuff is gone. So does that mean that Platinum has the rights to this IP? They can still do something with Scalebound, shop it around to somebody. Like, is that still an option? Is that why they're removing all mention of Scalebound from their history, so to speak? So I think that's an interesting little wrinkle, and maybe that is the case. Maybe they can shop this around to Nintendo or Sony or somebody else now and try to get this project off the ground. But I have to believe this thing's close to being finished after 4 years. I mean, Platinum's a veteran game developer. I feel like 4 years for a game is a long time for them, and they have to be close to the end.
Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, and you said this is 4 years in development, that tells me they probably got a lot of assets. They probably got a lot of stuff done with this game, which probably makes it a little easier to shop it around other publishers if they're able to. And I tell you what, that would probably burn a bridge with Microsoft. If you take a game, if Microsoft is funding this game in any way, and to take all these assets and go somewhere else and be like, hey, look, Sony or Nintendo, we'll flip the bill for the rest of what's left. I mean, I just can't. I don't know how that would happen without pissing Microsoft off if that's the case. That's why we need to hear from Microsoft or from Platinum Games the specifics about this deal to kind of give us some closure. I mean, that's the most important thing, because you can have a lot of people running rampant with conspiracies, and those are going to spread around, and then people are going to develop negative opinions of Platinum Games, or someone's going to come up with negative opinions of Microsoft. We just don't know. And that's what's important, and that's what matters most in this situation. We need to know so we can get this closure. So nobody wants to see Platinum Games get tarnished or Microsoft get tarnished over this cancellation. I think it's just important that they just put it out there. Here's what happened. Here's who owns, or at least say, here's who owns the IP. Because if Microsoft has it, it's dead. If it's Platinum Games, there's a possibility. So, but it's very strange. How this is all played out with little to no explanation whatsoever about what happened to Scalebound. And we mentioned, we're talking about the other studios and whatnot, and Phil Spencer had to say this about, whether or not this affects Xbox projects at other studios. He said, it hurts me as well, and to the community, I apologize. I want everything we start to turn out great, to take risks, create diversity. Starting new projects is critical. I will think more about when we show new stuff. That's good learning for me. I won't abandon signing independent studio projects, but I agree first-party internal studios are critical. He also wrote to another fan, said, I know we have to take risks. I realize right now that probably sounds hollow, but I agree. So, again, it's just I think we need closure on this, and whether or not we get that, we don't know. This could just be, leave a real sour taste in Xbox gamers' mouths for a long time, because 4 years in development, we don't know who owns the IP, how much of this game, how close is this game to being done? There's so many questions out there, and we need answers, I think.
And Brent, I'm curious too what you and the guys think, but is there something in the water, so to speak, at Microsoft? What's going on over there? Like Phil said, their first party studios are important. They want to take risks and all that, but I mean, what first party studios do they have that aren't working on Halo, Gears, or Forza? Mm-hmm. I don't know the makeup of their stable, so I don't know what else their first party studios can work on outside of those 3 games. But I'm just curious, what you guys think. Is there something going on over there? Is there something that they need to figure out? What is this, just business? Is this just the realities of AAA development? Is that all this is, or is there something more to it?
If I had to guess, and this is, again, just a guess, I would say fear is a little bit of an issue, simply because outside of Forza, Halo, and Gears, their new IPs, these risks that they want to take, they don't sell. And they don't sell well. And I mean, that comes back to the community of Xbox gamers. Why isn't Quantum Break selling? You mean, after a while, you got to get tired of Gears and Halo and Forza. I mean, there's got to be more interesting games outside those 3. So, I mean, if you're a first-party studio, why would you want to work on anything else? If you create a game and it bombs, that puts your studio at jeopardy. Why would you want to do anything else outside when all these other first-party games, Recore, Quantum Break, they don't sell well, which is a shame. I got to believe that's part of the concern. They don't know which games to go with because, damn it, they try all these different things and they just don't work. I mean, that's my thought on it. I mean, I'm sure there's investors involved. They look at this stuff and they're like, man, we don't want to see that game. That game's not going to sell. Look at this one. This one didn't sell. Forza, Halo, Gears. That's all you need. And I mean, I know there's a lot of excitement about Sea of Thieves. I know there's a lot of excitement behind State of Decay. I'll be really curious to see how those sell. I played State of Decay 1, wasn't blown away by it. I can't see that being a system seller. I can't see that being a juggernaut for sales. Crackdown 3, there's more hype behind that because it's going to benefit from Scorpio. That's the only hype behind that game. We don't know anything about Crackdown 3. Cuphead.
That's another one. That's another one with troubled development. I mean, that was a game we were supposed to see, whatever, the multiplayer beta or whatever it was
Yeah.
a year ago, or
Yeah,
last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, man, I don't know what's going on. I really don't. And to me, losing Scalebound was a real strong blow. And I'm really disappointed in that. That was the one game out of all the ones that he's trying to promote, like in that statement that Microsoft's trying to promote, that none of those even come close to Scalebound, in my opinion, for me. I'm sure there's others out there that disagree, and that's totally cool. I want to hear from you, podcast@shortpause.com, or shout out in the comments below. But for me, Scalebound was the one, and it's disappointing. Frankie, how about you, man? What do you think's going on at Microsoft, dude?
So, like you, and like I said earlier, Scalebound, as a loss, that's a huge blow. Because like I said before, I'm not interested in, most of those other titles they're bringing out this year. But just like looking at the overall picture, like you look at games like Sunset Overdrive, Rise, Quantum Break, I suppose Record to a degree. Like these games, nobody's buying these games apparently. These are games that were system sellers for people like me who wanted to get in here and not buy another console just to play Gears, Halo, and Forza. I want variety, So to me, like they're looking, and I've always believed that Microsoft is purely in this as a business thing. Like this isn't, they're not going to invest in games like The Last Guardian, Puppeteer, like a lot of these kind of weird games that PlayStation will invest in and fund for years until they're ready to come out. Like, what was the last Microsoft game that you saw that was in development for anywhere near the length of something like The Last Guardian? Even half that. They don't invest in these things like as a long-term project. Like they're all about immediate results. Like you see Phil even talking with people like about Rare Replay. Like, yeah, well that thing only sold well because look at the amount of value we had to pack into it to justify it. Like everything, I get the impression that a lot of this stuff boils down strictly to business decisions and their return on investment. And looking at a game like Scalebound, obviously they look at games that underperform like Quantum Break, games like Rise. And, they have to be thinking to themselves, like, look, this thing's probably going to bomb in sales on our platform. So I imagine, like, this all strictly boils down to business. I don't see Microsoft out there as a whole, like, as the company as a whole. Like, I think their gaming division, it's not a priority for them. Like, the Xbox brand itself isn't a big, like, source of revenue for Microsoft as a whole. So I don't think like I think Phil Spencer being the head of Xbox, honestly, I think that's more of a PR title. I don't think he's the guy out there who's able to actually make no, we need to keep funding Scalebound, whereas I think the people above him are like, no, you've had 4 years, this game's not ready, cut it. I honestly feel like that's what this boils down to. I could totally be off base, but just judging by what we've seen, like judging Fable Legends Studio got closed, they closed Press Play, they cut their ties with, Twisted Pixel. They owned Bungie at one point, and now Bungie's independent. So I don't know what's going on over there. I don't want to necessarily say that I'm concerned. Obviously games are still going to be coming. I hope more come along that I'm interested in, because if we get back to that, Halo, Gears, Forza thing year in, year out, and that's it, I'm not keeping my Xbox One. I'm not interested in those franchises enough to only own a box for that. Like, yeah, sure, Gears of War 4 was a good time. Halo 5 was all right, but I mean, like, I can't sit here and honestly tell you anything about the story from Halo 5 outside of you and I played it and I had fun blowing things up. And it's the same with Gears of War 4. I only remember Kate because she was a pretty cool character, but we ran around and cut dudes in half with chainsaw guns, and it was a good time. If that's all I'm going to have the system for going forward, I'm totally fine losing out on those experiences. I want diversity. I want games like Scalebound and Quantum Break.
I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. And like I said, hopefully, and I'm sure Microsoft does. Like, look, Microsoft isn't just going to roll over. I'm hoping E3 we'll see some new IPs, maybe some new announcements. I think they need. I mean, honestly, they really have to. I mean, I thought Scalebound was going to be that one of those showpiece titles for the Scorpio. With the Scorpio coming out, they have to have something in the bag for E3. They can't come on and be like, okay, here's an hour worth of Crackdown for the show. No, you can't do that. You're going to have Crackdown 3 there, but you have to have some other games. That's why I believe that Microsoft has other games under the hood, and we'll see them at E3 because they need something for Xbox Scorpio. Okay, they need something. Scalebound would have been that thing. I got to believe they got something else diverse that's different than Halo and Gears and Forza. At least that's what I'm really, really hoping. I believe that's what they got.
The other kind of troubling thing is it doesn't even I don't get the impression that Phil's even confident they're going to have that thing ready to show at E3. The Scorpio.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I hope so. But I mean, at the same time, if they're going to have a weak, fall lineup, I mean, why not delay the Scorpio? Put it out in the spring. Announce a big title at E3 and be like, hey, look, this will be out in spring. So will the Scorpio.
You might as well just get to the Xbox 2 or whatever at that point.
Right.
You're going to be almost 5 years into the life cycle of the Xbox One. It's like you might as well just make the leap.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Microsoft maneuvers through 2017 now. You've got E3, and then you've got the Scorpio. E3 is becoming very, very important for Microsoft and the Scorpio especially. They got to have some games. I believe they have games. And we'll see them at E3. If they don't have any major IPs, whether they're third-party or deals or second-party deals or first-party stuff, I'm going to be really, really concerned. Frankie?
I was going to kind of just mention the last kick in the nuts for Scalebound was Dragon Age Origins going backwards compatible within the day or something. That was a dick move.
Yeah, you don't need that. You got Dragon Age. You're good. No, I needed Scalebound. So, very disappointing. Hopefully, we can get some insight on this, get some closure, at least tell us where the IP stands. If it's with Platinum, there's hope. Maybe they'll rebrand it as something else with another publisher. If it's with Microsoft, I believe it's dead. So,
for sure. How interesting is this E3 going to be?
It's incredibly interesting.
With Microsoft and with Nintendo and with Sony, with the state that the different states that all three of them are in. This would be a very interesting show.
There's a lot riding. I think Sony is in the best position for E3. Microsoft's E3 just got a lot more interesting. Nintendo, I don't even care about their E3 right now, man. I'm still trying to process what the hell we just watched this past week. So I think this E3 is Microsoft has to have a very strong showing for E3. This is very big for Microsoft and for their fans and the people that own Xbox Ones. This E3 is critical. I mean, it really is. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Crackdown 3 appeals to a lot of people. I'm sure Halo Wars 2 appeals to a lot of people. State of Decay, a certain audience. Cuphead looks really, really cool. But they need something, not a Halo or a Gears, but they need a new IP that's as appealing as those. That's what they need. They need a big-time IP. You know what? At this point, I'd be happy with Rise 2. Give me a Rise 2 at E3, a big-time Rise 2. I'd be happy with that. So,
yeah,
with Crytek's current state, yeah, I don't know.
Dude, is this the most depressing podcast ever right now? Man.
Dude, the first time around when Crytek was having issues, dude, they had Microsoft on blast just in sales of Rise and their expectations. Like, this is crap. We're not doing these exclusives anymore.
Oh,
so if there's a Rise 2, I don't see Crytek being behind it, unfortunately.
All right, okay, seriously, that's got to be it with the negative news, right? We're done. We've had Nintendo. We've talked Scalebound. This is bummer times. Let's see what's next on the docket. Oh, Guerrilla Cambridge. Studio with Sony for the last 19 years. Shuttered this week. Everybody laid off.
Oh, boy.
Wow. I can't wait for episode 200. Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox all go bankrupt episode 200. Calling it now. This is a disaster. Sony has confirmed the impending shutdown, saying that the compulsory redundancies are regrettable. The decision to close the studio comes from a review of all current PlayStation projects and resources, with the platform holder concluding that in order to deliver on our strategic objectives, it is necessary to make some changes to the European studio structure. Now, it says European studio structure. There were no other studios affected by this. It was just Guerrilla Cambridge alone. Again, these guys have been around for a while. They were previously known as SCE Cambridge Studio. Like I said, they were running for 19 years. They were responsible for games such as the recently released Riggs Mechanized Combat League for PlayStation VR, a game that reviewed very well. And from my understanding, I heard it's very, very fun. Obviously, I'm the worst person. I haven't played it. They're also responsible for the Medieval franchise, Primal, Ghost Hunter, and probably most popular for their Killzone Mercenary on Vita. So I mean, Guerrilla Cambridge was a talented studio. I mean, it's an off studio of Guerrilla Games, one of the biggest developers under Sony's tent there, and all employees were laid off. And Sony's statement, whilst we accept that this decision will mean that we risk losing high caliber staff by focusing on other studios with exciting new projects in development, including continued work on PlayStation VR, we believe we'll be in a stronger position going forward and able to offer the best possible content of the highest quality to our players. This decision should not take anything away from the incredible games and services that Guerrilla Cambridge has delivered. And PlayStation has also pledged to, where possible, try to relocate or reallocate people onto other projects and assist staff by speaking to local developers about recruitment prospects. So, I mean, obviously a talented studio. There are other studios, I believe, in that area. So, I'm confident that with these type, a lot of talented developers, many of these people will find studios in that area to find work. Hopefully, I mean, we want everyone to land on their feet, but I mean, this is a storied developer that's been under Sony's tent for a long time, and boys, Sony's shutting them down for obviously strategic objectives. But what's your thoughts on the closing of Guerrilla Cambridge, man?
Yeah, it's disappointing. Obviously, our thoughts go out to all the developers at Guerrilla Cambridge. Like you said, I mean, Medieval on PlayStation, that was a really popular franchise. It spawned a character who even eventually showed up in PlayStation All-Stars down the line. So that was a popular character at that time. They made the best example of not only a first-person shooter, but a AAA game on the Vita in Killzone Mercenary. Riggs, was like the game for VR to have when PlayStation VR came out. Like that was the game everybody got behind. That was the one that reviewed the best. It was a big time game for them. So it's weird that they close after that. So it's another one of those things where it's like, man, what's going on in the water over in Europe? Like they had to close down Evolution. They've closed down several studios over there. Some of them were involved in VR projects over the last few years. So Media Molecules over there too. They're in trouble with Dreams. Like who knows what's going on with that? So they could be on the docket for some time down the line if that doesn't come together. So I don't know what's going on in Europe, but. It's disappointing to see these really, really talented developers have to close their doors. I guess the other question we have to talk about with this, Brent, is what does this mean for VR, if anything? Because Cambridge was one of Sony's main VR studios at this point. They've closed several other studios that were involved in VR projects. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if this means anything. I know VR hasn't sold what they thought it would, but I feel like that's because there aren't any units out there. I don't think I've ever seen this thing in the store since I bought it on day one. I've never seen a PlayStation VR in a store. So I don't know what's going on with the supplies of these things, but so I don't know if that factors into it. They're just not able to manufacture enough of these units, whether they're just looking at the sales numbers and they're like, we can't have this many studios focused on VR, because they still have other studios that are making VR. So, I mean, I guess I'm curious on what your guys' thoughts are on that. But, it's just sad to see another talented developer go. And like you said, those guys are very talented and are going to land in other spots, whether with Sony or not. So there's lots of developers in Europe. There's other Sony studios out there that they can get involved with. So I have no doubt that these guys are going to get on their feet quickly. But still sad to see them go from the Sony stable.
And I mean, to give you an idea of how difficult this must have been for PlayStation or Sony to make this cut, I mean, not so much the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Everyone knows that there's going to be a PlayStation 3, and everyone knew there was going to be a PlayStation 4, and everyone knew there was going to be a PlayStation 5. It wasn't going to be very difficult to find developers to create content for this. But when you have the PlayStation Vita, and when you have PlayStation VR, where people weren't too sure, I mean, these were risks. These were big risks for Sony. If there was one studio that came to deliver a product to say, hey, look, this is a badass system. This is really good. You can do some good stuff on it. Cambridge came through in the clutch. I mean, like you mentioned, Killzone Mercenary, probably the best AAA game, arguably the best AAA game on PlayStation Vita. Cambridge came through in the clutch. They needed something awesome at PlayStation VR launch. Riggs, Mechanized Combat League. reviewed very well. A lot of people really enjoy it. And from what I've seen in videos, it looks like it's a hell of a lot of fun. This was not an easy cut. And whether or not this has anything to do with like PlayStation VR, I don't know. I mean, yes, they mentioned that it's not selling at the rate they did, but like you mentioned, it's probably because they don't have the supply to meet the demand. But at the same time, they've come out and said it's doing very, very well. And so I'm confident that it's doing well. It's when it's out, it sells. But not having the production and not having the supply there is probably costing them some money. If you're developing these games, but you don't have all the headsets out there for people to buy it. Plus, I mean, let's say what it is. I mean, there's a lot of VR games out there right now. There's quite a few PlayStation VR games that you can get that people can spend money on to buy it, and it might have flooded things. If you have not enough headsets out there and you've got so many choices, I mean, not everyone's gonna go out and be like, I got to get rigs because Eve looks good. So I bet you some of these these games aren't selling as well. Because there's just not enough people out there with not enough diverse audience. If there's more headsets, you hit more diversity. So that's just my thoughts on it. I mean, I don't know whether or not this is directly related to VR, but it's just it's a shame. I mean, it's a real shame because this is a very talented developer that has come to the aid of Sony when Sony takes a chance.
That's one of my things with this too, is like looking at the big picture when the PlayStation VR launched. Outside of London with that, the VR Worlds disc, like Riggs was the only Sony-owned studio that had something on launch for this thing, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Drive Club did come out at launch too, but I think Drive Club was, more of like a port type of thing, maybe. But either way, like the first big thing from Sony was Riggs, and to see not even a year after that thing comes out, like we're talking 4 or 5 months. To shut down that studio, that's concerning.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I don't know, and this is like my big concern even with the Vita. Like coming into the PlayStation VR, like my concern was, is Sony going to support this thing? I don't think Farpoint is even like a Sony Worldwide Studios project. I don't know any like Worldwide Studios, Sony-owned studios that are working on VR stuff right now. Obviously, I think Gran Turismo is going to have VR support, but like, where are the actual games for this thing? Like, what Sony studios are working on games for PlayStation VR? It's really concerning in that aspect, but I agree with you. I desperately wanted to see Guerrilla Games hand off the Killzone IP to Cambridge, because I think they understood they made a better Killzone than actual Guerrilla Games ever had, in my opinion.
Bender, your thoughts? I mean, I know you aren't a Killzone guy. I know you've played a little bit of Riggs, but were you ever into like Medieval?
I never played that one either.
I mean,
Daniel.
but did you enjoy Riggs? What little you played?
Yeah, Riggs seemed pretty cool from what I played. It's a shame that the studio got shut down. That's always sad. It seems like that's happened a lot lately. I don't know. I don't know if it's more than previous years, but I mean, just in the last year, it seems like there's been several studios that have been shut down, and that kind of sucks. So I don't know. Yeah, like Ben said, I hope everyone lands on their feet, but it's a shame.
That's a Bender. I think what we're seeing is the realities of AAA development on these current consoles. And as these consoles continue to get more and more powerful and people's expectations continue to grow even further, the budgets on these games just balloon out of control. So as a result, some of these studios have to be shut down in order for them to keep pushing the AAA envelope and keep making these gigantic games. So, it's unfortunate, but I think this is just part of the game at this point.
Well, now that we've probably ruined the mood for this entire episode, the viewers are probably depressed. I apologize. The big news this week was just depressing news. A lot of other things happened, but I mean, we had a lot to talk about with these 3 items, and unfortunately, they were all in negative nature. I'm sure there are people out there that enjoyed the Nintendo Switch presentation, and we want to hear from you. In fact, we want to hear from all of you. If you want to comment on the Nintendo Switch presentation, or if you want to talk about Scalebound, what you think happened, what you hope happens, or if you want to talk about Guerrilla Cambridge, I mean, are you into Riggs Mechanized Combat League? I mean, do you like that game? Did you enjoy it? Did you expect Guerrilla Cambridge to be closed? We want to hear from you on all these topics, so make sure you either email us, podcast@shortpause.com, comment in the comments below, come over to the website to the post, you can comment there, anywhere. We want to hear what you have to say about any of these 3 topics tonight because they're all very very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of diverse opinions. We want to hear from you. And that's going to wrap it up for the news segment. Again, the most depressing news segment I can remember. Episode 100, known to bring tears. We're going to just call it Episode 100, Salty Tears. But let's talk about that for a second, guys. Let's take a break. Let's step back and just think about this. I mean, this is Episode 100. We have been doing this for 100 episodes. Frankie and Benner, you guys have been along for the ride. Every Saturday, hey, it's podcast time. And we come on here and we give it our all, we give it our best. And I want you guys to kind of reflect on that. Tell me what you've enjoyed about 100 episodes. What are some of the things that you've taken from this that you'll always remember, things that you've really enjoyed? I want to start with you, boys.
Man, we've talked about this, a little bit before on the show, Brent, but we really didn't know what we were getting into with this.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it at the beginning of the show. We started this podcast with Eric. We just had an interest, like, hey, let's see what making a podcast is all about. Seems like it'd be really fun to get on here and talk some games every week, or whenever we had a chance back then.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then as the podcast continued to evolve, as we started to hit our stride, and as we're like, man, we could really do something with this. Let's take this weekly. Let's build our audience. As we got that going, and as we've now built something, and the fact that we've built a podcast that people enjoy listening to some people, this is their favorite podcast that they listen to every week.
Mm-hmm.
Is us yapping about games, and that's pretty cool, man. To hear from guys like Angels and Demons and Luis and Curtis and Alpha Bravo and some of these guys that write into the show and that we know are out there listening. That's really cool to know that we're making a show every week and we're connecting with people and entertaining them, every single week.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I love the fact that I've been able to make a friendship with you guys. All 3 of you guys, and I consider close friends. So it's been really cool to get to know you guys, to get to play games with you guys, to have a group of people that I can rely on and count on to not only do this short pause thing, but to just chill out and play some games too.
Mm-hmm.
That's been really fun as well. And also liked yelling at you about Destiny on episode 16. So that was
my favorite episode.
So that was, I think that's one of the standout moments that I remember. I just remember ripping into you about that Crota raid. So that was always good fun. But yeah, I the ranting and the raving and the Destiny rants and just everything, man. It's just been a really good time, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. And it's been a lot of fun, and I just can't wait to keep doing it, man, and keep improving the show. That's what I'm looking forward to as we move forward. What are we gonna do to keep taking this to the next level, to keep improving the show, to keep trying to connect more and more with our listeners? So I'm really excited about the future. It's been a blast so far.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the things that I take away from most that I appreciate the most about this podcast is, first of all, learning to edit a podcast. I really feel like I've upped my game in terms of editing abilities and learning new things to do. Like for example, this video. I mean, we've never done a video version of this podcast before, and this is our first try at it. And already there's things in my mind I'm like, I could have done this better, probably could have set this up better. Just the way I want to deliver stuff to the listeners and the viewers. I want to make this as entertaining as possible. So I've really enjoyed learning the software that I added on for both the audio and the video version. Another thing I really enjoy is talking to you guys. When we get on here and talk, there's no uncomfortableness, there's no awkwardness anymore. I mean, we're like 4 dudes. Yes, we're all in different parts of the country. Boyce and I are in Michigan. Frankie's in Ohio. Bender's in Nebraska. And
he's in Denver, Brent. Come on.
I just like to say a different place every time we talk about Bender.
He's in Delaware.
Hi, I'm in Delaware.
I'm in Delaware.
Bender's obviously in Oklahoma, and it's just it's like we're sitting around at the bar. I mean, that's what it's like when I hop on here with you guys for 3 or 4 hours and we talk about games. It's just we know each other. And we feed off each other, and we know what each other's going to say. And the other thing I like about when we talk about is the diverse opinions. Bender loves Nintendo. Awesome. Ben loves games but then doesn't play them. Awesome. Frankie thinks Battleborn's great. Awesome. He's rocking the gear. And it's just, that's what I love about it. But the thing that I love about having those diverse opinions is that we all respect each other's opinions. Nobody trashes each other. It is what it is. We don't sit there and argue. We don't take anything personal. It's opinions. And that's what I think that's awesome about our show is we have various opinions. And we're respectful towards one another regarding that. So that's one thing that I love about working with you guys every week is that it's just we're diverse and we're honest and you guys are passionate and ambitious and you're motivated and I dig that as well. It comes through every show. And then, of course, I think the last thing is just the listeners. That's the thing that I love most about doing this. Like you mentioned, you got the Angels and Demons, the Curtises, the Alpha Bravos, the Luises, everybody that writes into the show. That means so much to me, and I'm sure it means the same to you guys. People take the time to write to us, offer us feedback, offer us comments, offer their opinion on topics that we've discussed. Those are the people that I love. Those are the people that we interact with, and that tells me we're doing something right. We aim for a certain type of audience, and yes, maybe our audience isn't the vocal minority who's big on conspiracies and being aggressive and hostile. We've got awesome listeners, people that we love to interact with, and I appreciate it. And people on Twitter like Mudini and Shifty, Twaz, and Jimmy Z, all these guys that just I got some friends that'll actually send me text message, hey man, I like you guys' show. Have you guys tried doing this? I love that stuff. I love hearing from people that listen to our show. Criticism, I love it. No matter how rough it is, I love it because it gives me an idea of what we need to do to get better. And then when you hear back from that person a week later going, oh man, I like the changes that you made. That's great. That tells me that we're doing something right, and I love that stuff. I love hearing from my listeners. I love hearing from you guys and girls. You guys are the best, and I hope we continue to hear from you. This show is for you. This is why we do it. Okay, this is why we do it. We don't do it just to talk into a microphone. We do it because we want to talk to you, we want to hear from you, and we love to be honest with you about video games and our experiences with it. So that's where I'm at with it. Frankie, you have the floor.
So, like I've said before, kind of coming into this console generation, I've kind of been that antisocial gamer, not really looking to talk to a lot of people. I don't like talking to anybody, really, honestly. Even still, like my day-to-day, I don't kind of interact with anybody because I don't like people. So, I kind of have a lot of
they're
social
the
anxiety.
worst.
Yeah, yes, they are bad. But I do. I have a lot of social anxiety, so kind of getting on here, getting to do this, getting to know you guys, and get to do the show, like it's kind of helped me a lot there. And like you mentioned, we've met a lot of people. JD being one of them.
Yes.
So I've kind of been hopping on his show too, just because I enjoy the whole music thing. It's really awesome. So that's been pretty cool. But yeah, but it's just like this podcast has kind of like helped me kind of expand my willingness to, I guess, interact with people, whether it be on the show, whether it be doing streams, what have you. So that's been really cool, and I've enjoyed all of this. I want to go ahead and say that my two favorite podcast moments were that time that I said when Zelda got delayed, it would be coming out on the Switch and Wii U at the same time. Remember that? That happened.
I do remember that one. You remind us every day.
That was a shot from downtown.
Swish. But outside of that, probably my sweet victory last year with our E3 predictions. That was great.
Yeah. That was most impressive.
But even outside the podcast, though, like Destiny was a game that when it came out, I kind of wrote off because I didn't have people to play it with. But that probably literal year that we were hammering Destiny like week in, week out, like it's been years since I've had that much fun playing a game with friends, you know what I mean? So had I not joined Short Pause or even met you guys and started playing Destiny with you guys, like that game unfortunately probably would be sitting on my shelf untouched. I'd probably be level 20, like light level like 120. So very fortunate to have met you guys and Mudini and all the Short Pause Guardians and all those awesome triumphant nights of kind of building up your character, doing the nightfalls. The first time that Moody, Bender, and I beat Skolas. Dude, that still remains one of my favorite gaming moments ever. And then doing a repeat with Boyce that one night, that was, man, dude, that was moments like that are why I'm a gamer. And like stuff like that in particular, I just attribute to, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I wasn't here. So thank you guys. Thank you for having me on the site and, coming on and whatever episode that was, 17, 16,
17.
somewhere in there.
17. Bender was 16 and you were 17.
It's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, we've got some cool plans for the podcast going forward for the next 100. Like I said, we're going to stick to this video format as well. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, or Google Play, you can also find this in video format on YouTube. And again, in the comments or in the description, we'll have timestamps for everything that we talk about. I don't know how to do chapter markers on YouTube. I thought I've seen it before, but I don't know how to do it right now. But that'll be something I'll research. But in the description below, you'll be able to see timestamps of where we're talking about certain topics. Normally, our episodes consist of far more news articles, but we just had 3 big things to talk about this week. But we'll make sure that there's always something in the description to know where you left off and where you started. So we've got developers that we're talking to constantly. We're trying to work out some schedules with certain prominent developers, and I can't wait to get them on the show for some interviews. We want to try to get some of these developers on so we can talk about the things that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, there's so much focus on resolution and the power of a system. I think sometimes we forget about what goes into making a game, and that's what we want to get these developers on for, is to talk about what it takes to make a game, the publishing deals that are in place, how they come to work agreements with publishers, all that kind of stuff. And we've reached out to quite a few developers, and we've got some stuff in the pipeline. So I'm really excited about 2017, the next 100 episodes, and evolving this podcast and doing it with you guys. It's just going to make things that much sweeter. So really, really looking forward to the next 100 episodes, you guys. It's been a blast for the first 100, and I absolutely love doing this every single night. So good times for sure. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah. I've really enjoyed being on the podcast as well. I still remember my very first episode. I was super nervous. I had never, ever done a podcast before. But then by the end of it, I was like, oh, this wasn't so bad. It's just hanging out and talking about video games. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, 94 episodes later, we're still hanging out talking about video games. It's pretty cool. I've had a lot of fun just in general being part of the site. Getting the chance to review several games and has been a real privilege, and getting a chance to play some of those games before they came out and writing a review for them is always something I enjoy. I like being on the show with you guys. I think we have a good flow together as a quartet. As you guys were saying, I think we each bring something different to the table. We all have different styles and different types of games that we like, and we all have something new, different to bring to the conversation, which is a good thing to have, I think, in a podcast.
Absolutely,
is to have different personalities, and that's something that some of our listeners have expressed an appreciation for as well. The fact that we all like different things and we all have different personalities, and I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you each individually for your different talents. I mean, Felsing is a great host, and he does a great job editing and making everything sound really good. One thing I appreciate about our show is that the audio quality has always been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
When I listen to other podcasts, I mean, some people just like record from their webcam and it just sounds really crappy, and I mean, that's something I really appreciate about this show, is it always has had a pretty high quality in the sound department and everything. I appreciate Boyce for his insights and his knowledge about games, and he always has some interesting opinions, and he makes me think of things that I hadn't thought of before, and he's a good editor and everything. I appreciate Frankie for his passion about games, and he has unique opinions sometimes that I don't always agree with, but he's he's a cool guy overall. I still remember after I had joined the side, you were like, "Hey, let's get Frankie on this Skype call. We'll talk about it." And I was like, Frankie? Who's this Frankie character? but yeah, he turned out to be pretty cool, so I'm okay with him. No.
Yeah, he's the short pause shit stirrer. That's for sure. That's what Frankie Ayler does best.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and of course I appreciate the listeners and all the people who have sent in feedback and wrote in and yeah, it's been a fun ride so far, and I really look forward to what the future brings for us, and I hope the listeners and the readers, the viewers also appreciate what we've been doing and continue to stick with us and help our audience to grow and tell their friends and everything. So yeah, it's been a great time. So I'd like to thank you guys for letting me be here and take this ride with you.
Appreciate it, Bender. Yeah, you mentioned the listeners, and it all comes down to them, you know. And since episode one, we've had over 25,000 interactions with the podcast, whether it be downloads or plays. And you know, and you look at, you know, you can see the countries that are listening. We've been, you know, people all over the world have listened to our podcast a couple of times, at least once, and it's very humbling to see that. And you mentioned the audio, and those are the people that I try to do the high quality audio for, because I think about them. I'm like, do they want to just listen to four guys talking over one another using webcams, or do they want to hear a show that's sound quality, that's good, nice on the ears, that they can enjoy, and encouraging them to interact with us, to share their opinion, because again, they're gamers, and those are the people that we're talking to, and those are the people I'm trying to create a show for, that we're trying to create a show for, that's entertaining to listen to. Yes, our shows run long, but we try to make it entertaining for you. And these three guys here, they're the best, and they allow me to create a show and produce a show and edit a show that sounds great, because they bring their A game every single week, and this show wouldn't be the same without them. So right back at you guys. I love you guys very much. You guys are great, and I can't wait to see where the show goes from here. So I do have to make a quick apology. We had our most anticipated discussion last week, and a friend of ours on Twitter, Tori, or @Shifty25, had sent me his email for most anticipated titles. And Ben, what happens when you put an idiot in charge of checking emails before a podcast?
Nothing good, Brent.
Nothing
let me tell you.
good. Like missing this email. And to Shifty25, I apologize, sir. So I am going to read your email right now for your most anticipated games of 2017. And here's what he had to say. Hey, guys. Hope you all had a great holiday and a happy new year. We did, and thank you.
Thank you, Shifty. You too.
Yeah. My top 5 anticipated titles for 2017 are, number 1, Horizon Zero Dawn. Pretty good choice. Number
Very
2,
good.
Mass Effect Andromeda. Nice. Number
Very
3,
good one.
Zelda Breath of the Wild on NX. He says NX here, but Shifty, that's called the Switch, brother. But I'll allow the NX. Number 4, the unannounced but hotly anticipated by everybody here at Short Pause, Destiny 2. And lastly, Frank, you'll appreciate this one, number 5, Prey. Prey is Tori's 5th most anticipated title of 2017, and he finished off by saying, keep up the great work. Shifty, for people like you who write in, we will continue to make this show as good as possible. We want to keep you around. We want to keep you entertained. Thank you for writing in. I apologize tenfold for forgetting to read this last week. It will not happen again.
That is a fantastic list.
That is a very,
Yeah,
very
I
strong
agree.
list.
Except
Yep.
I'm going to say right now, Destiny 2 is not coming out this year.
See,
You
God,
watch your
we were
bastard
we
mouth.
were negative for 2 hours, and then we get positive, and then you just shit on it at the end.
Be negative.
Oh my
You
God!
want a good game? I want a good game. It'll come out next spring.
Frankie
Dude,
Ayler, short pause shit stir. Here he goes again. Man,
that game has to come out this year. Activision had the plan where they were expecting this game to be out in 2016, to go through all of 2017 and not have Destiny 2 when they probably don't have any big expansions planned for it either. I don't think that's gonna fly.
Okay. Do I sense a wager? 15,
CNE3.
$20. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that is going to do it for episode 100 of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. Thank you very much to all of our listeners. We really do appreciate you. We will continue to go with the video format as well, so make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That's where it'll be every week. I'm not sure if it'll be out at the same time as the audio. It depends on how the editing goes, but I'm going to try to have it pretty close to the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and TuneIn. Gentlemen, where can we find you gaming and tweeting? Frankie.
Well,
He gone. There it is.
Oh no.
You can find Frankie on Twitter, PlayStation Network, Pornhub, and Xbox Live at Viper Strike. VYPRSTRYKE, as you can see right there on the screen. Boys, how about you?
As always, Brent, nothing's changed now that we're doing 100 episodes. But you can find me not tweeting at Piccolo930. And of course, that's my PSN handle as well, Piccolo930. Just a friendly reminder. Watch the Thursday Night Indie Spotlight, 10 p.m. Eastern every Thursday on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/shortpauselive. It's a good time. Should be there.
Awesome. Bender, how about you? Where can we find you gaming and tweeting?
You can find me on Twitter at Bender_guitar, on PlayStation Network at me_Bender, Nintendo Network at Bender82, Xbox Live at me_Bender82, and real quick, I wanted to say, be sure you to stay tuned to my Twitter if you're not already following me at Bender_guitar, because I am going to be going down to PAX South, and hopefully I'm definitely going to be playing the Switch. That's one of the main reasons I'm going. No matter how long I have to stand in line for it, hopefully they'll have a Zelda demo. But even if not, I mean, I'll definitely be looking around, seeing what other cool games I can find. I'll be tweeting about my impressions and maybe writing some articles and stuff on the site. So whatever I find out, we'll see what I see when I go down there. But I'm going for at least 2 of the 3 days.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to hearing your feedback. Hey, Frankie's back, and look, everyone's box is lined back up again. Awesome.
Yay.
Hi,
sorry.
Frankie.
I don't know what just happened.
I already gave out your call sign on all your channels and websites that you like to visit, so I got you covered, buddy.
Good.
Make sure you visit the website, www.shortpause.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Short Pause. Check out this podcast on iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and Google Play. If you like this podcast, if you really enjoy it, go over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, write a nice review. If you're not quite ready to give us a 5-star review, damn it, don't go over there and give us a fake one. Come over to the website or send us an email, podcast@shortpause.com. Let us know what you think. Give us your criticism, your feedback, anything. If you got an opinion on anything that we talk about, we want to hear from you, and we'll read it off on the next episode. So podcast@shortpause.com or in the comments of the podcast post, we want to hear from you. Make sure you check out our Twitch channel, Short Pause Live, every Thursday night, the Thursday Night Indie Spotlight. Boys will pull up an indie title and showcase it for about an hour. Like I said, the guy, I want to stop buying games, but then he plays these awesome games and I piss money away. Thank you, boys. But if you want to check out an awesome stream, Thursday Night Indie Spotlight every Thursday. It's always there at 10 o'clock. If you miss it, it's over on our YouTube channel the next day. So make sure you check it out. Short Pause Gaming on YouTube, Short Pause Live on Twitch. You can find me on Twitter at TheDude1979, PlayStation Network, TheDude79, and Xbox Live, TheRealDude79. Guys, it's been a treat. It's been an enjoyable show. Thank you to the listeners again for tuning in. For Mr. Boyce, Mr. Ayler, and Mr. Holt, I'm Brent Felsing. Thank you again for listening and watching the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.